Afternoon, laddies and lassies. Hope you're having a fantastic St. Patrick's Day. Hope you've had a lot of Jameson and you haven't beaten your wives to death. I'm your host. All of a sudden I became English. I'll stop while I'm ahead. I did good the first 30 seconds of that. What's up, YouTube? What's going on, Rumble? What's going on, Pilled.net? Hope you're having a fantastic day. Happy St. Patrick's Day. We love you very much, and we're glad that you were here. We have a big show, a lot to talk about. Gonna end with some stuff about 17 that was thrown across my desk a few days ago, and I didn't get to it on Monday because Pilled was down. They got back up about 6:45, 6:30. A lot of people had some problems, including our co-host every Tuesday, Mr. Brett Collins. What's up, bud?
What's going on? Happy Hitman Irish Day.
Yes.
Hitman's in the house.
St. Patrick's Day to you.
Oh, yes. Everybody wearing your green. Celebrate. I watched the parade a little bit. That was featured live. Like they have that Fox Live. I watched that app, and they were showing the parade in Ireland, and it's like...
You saw a lot of Irishmen, I bet.
Yeah, I saw very little, and it's sad. It's very sad in some way. Yeah, we're back on, baby. Yep.
Thank you, Matt. Appreciate that.
Yep. Yeah, I had problems too, Matt. I couldn't log on. That's why I didn't do a show on Monday, so...
Well, we have a lot to get into here today, but without further ado, we always have to thank our great sponsor, and that is our great friends over at Noble Gold. So let's go ahead and do that right now, shall we? Folks, new numbers are out of Washington show inflation is on the rise yet again. Another threat to you, your savings, and your retirement. Ask yourselves an honest question. Does your dollar go as far as it did 10 years ago, 5 years ago, or even last year? So what does the next decade look like for you and your savings for that point? If your portfolio lacks exposure to gold, one of history's most reliable economic hedges, it's time to rethink your strategy. Gold has kept up with inflation and in many periods even outpaced it, folks. My friends at Noble Gold Investments specialize in helping people protect their wealth with physical gold and silver. Whether you're rolling over an IRA or making a direct purchase, their team walks you through the entire process and makes it simple. You're not talking to a machine. You're talking to a real live person on the phone, folks. No pressure, just education and experience. Let them know True Reporting sent you. Right now, all new qualified accounts will receive a free 10-ounce American Gold Eagle as a thank you. Real gold, folks. Visit noblegoldinvestments.com, or you know where to go. That is TRUreportinggold.com, and discover how easy it is to protect your financial future. That is noblegoldinvestments.com or TRUreportinggold.com. That description is in that link is in the description below. Just a heads up. So I want to thank Noble Gold Investments, Noble Gold. We love them. They're great. Let's go ahead and move into this. Speaking of Ireland, speaking of St. Patrick's Day, let's take a listen. Ireland's president urges global citizens to acknowledge their shared responsibility to invoke St. Patrick's spirit by standing in solidarity with migrants and to recognize the invaluable contributions that they have made. Not just the Irish themselves, but all of them. Take a listen. How beautiful it is.
The story of Patrick's life serves as a reminder of the resilience and courage of migrants, the invaluable contributions that they have made and continue to make to the countries they now call home, sometimes even in the face of great adversity. Patrick's story speaks not only to the Ireland of the 5th century, but to the millions still subjected to trafficking, forced labour and displacement today. As we recall the life of Patrick, we invoke his spirit and acknowledge our shared responsibilities as global citizens. We stand in solidarity with those who find themselves in vulnerable and dangerous circumstances. Patrick's story invites us to respond with hospitality and kindness to those suffering the consequences of war and displacement, those fleeing their countries because of persecution or violence.
Absolutely. I totally agree with her. I believe that we should have open borders. I believe that that we as white people, anyone of an Irish Catholic background, should be put in camps and terminated. So that is what I think. Brett, your thoughts on your own people making a mess of things?
Well, first and foremost, I'm an American citizen. I was born and raised here in America. Yes, I have Irish roots on my father's side. So yes, I'm, I was a big Irish Catholic. So from that standpoint, what I hear right now has nothing to do with St. Patrick.
Nothing.
That's globalist gobbledygook. I mean, she talks about vulnerable and people that are threatened. What about her own people? I mean, honestly. The fact is that you don't even care a good goddamn about your own people. It's just disgraceful. I mean, the saddest thing that I look at, it's like, I wanted to go visit Ireland and stuff. No, I'm not going to go there, especially not Dublin. What it is that the European Union and NATO, as we're about to discuss with President Trump, it's all crumbling down. It's all going away. And this rhetoric, they basically are, they're suiciding themselves, and they will continue on this path nevertheless, because these people, these installed leaders, will carry out their mission. And the United States, President Trump, needs to walk away from them 100%. We'll have trading partners. We'll do all these things. They're not there to protect us. We can't help them. And that mindset, until they're actually overthrown. The barbarians are not at the gate anymore. They're not even at the shores. They're inside your homes, and they don't care. And I don't know what's going on, why Ireland allows this. What are they being blackmailed? They still have their puppets in place that are being controlled by the cabal. I'm sick of it. It's just sad in some way. I feel bad for the Irish residents. It's for them. I tell anybody that's listening overseas in Europe, in Ireland, and rise up against those people, because the bottom line is your life, your family's life, and your friends' lives are on the line. It's, we in America right now, we don't really give a shit anymore. The argument of being, let's just say, displaced in any way is coming to an end. The gates are closed. It's about ridding ourselves of these demons that are walking around thinking they want to some way be American. And I'm not going to proselytize religion or proselytize legal immigration or any of this other stuff that you think that falls under some doctrine. No, I'm not going to do it because it's all propaganda. It's all nuts. To convince you that there's no problems with rapes, murders, stabbings, especially what's going on in London and many parts of Great Britain, I'm saddened for that nation. I'm saddened for both the Great Britain and Ireland and Scotland with LGBTQ and all this other nonsense. They still haven't learned. And, I guess that the awakening for them is going to be later than it is for us. I think when we break away from the EU and NATO, as President Trump discussed today or yesterday, it's over. It's over. They are going to be on their own. And, this is a good thing for Americans because ultimately, when we step away from NATO, you're on your own. We might be able to make peace with Russia. We might be able to settle this war, whatever this war is in Ukraine that we never get to see. That's always on full blast that we hear all the time with gobs of billions going out the door. But, I watch many different apps where I can watch live feeds of Iran and Israel and the Middle East just bombing the shit out of each other. But we never see a speck of any of that information on Ukraine. And I just wonder, it's just a giant laundromat. That's what NATO is. That's what the EU is. We're just sending money over there for what? We have to cut all this out. And I'm sorry. Maybe we need to what? Bring in more Irish citizens to the United States, white, Anglo-Saxon or Catholic or Christian citizens to the United States. I mean, if we're going to do a moratorium and stuff, maybe we should start bringing more Europeans over. And President Trump has Scottish descent. I mean, I'm sure he realizes that they have to change their ways. Their roots are and what we all share together in this country. And it's their leaders are leading them astray. And I don't know what else to say about that other than I'm really saddened for the people that live in these countries that have to face this nightmare on a daily basis.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more with you. That is, it's a saddening thing when you turn on the TV, especially if you're in Ireland and you're watching the St. Patrick's Day parade, and then you see your leader out there speaking a bunch of garbage. And Linda Perino, you're absolutely right. She's trashing St. Patrick.
Yep.
Through and through. Through and through, she's not
Absolutely.
only trashing St. Patrick, she's completely trashing the people of Irish descent that live in Ireland.
And I blame the church.
Oh.
I blame the Catholic Church. The Catholic Church has done this for decades, for a century. I mean, they are part of this problem as well. And I think that forcing upon their people to believe that this is God's will and God's plan, this is what Jesus wanted in some way, is a lie. It's a lie that's been sold to them left and right. Yeah, I didn't see anywhere in the Bible when I was reading the Bible and saying, hey, let the invaders in and rape your wife, mutilate your children, kill them, eat the babies. I didn't see any of that in the Bible. I just think in some way, part of Europe, old Europe, is still left to reel from what is, I think, is the broken Kabbalah. I think it's the broken manufacture of all this artifice in some way. They're still controlled. They're still blackmailed until the people rise up and demand new elections, demand something that they can get back in return. And I think really where it has to do is that they're going to have to go through a strife. They're going to have to go through something economically, and that will force their hand, like Italy is doing. Italy is on the right path, and they no longer allow any of these North Africans, these migrants that come in there. I was watching a thing about the boats, and they're talking about how all the boats from all these migrant ships are they called shipwreck or abandoning or something like that. That they're basically they're crashing, and they're drowning, and they're just picking up all the dead bodies in there. Yeah, and they're not reporting it because you know why? They don't want to cover it anymore. Because if you isolate that and you call that out and you point fingers to that, then that leads to the suicidal empathy and sympathy you have for these people. I don't. The plan of action is stay home, stay at your local place, wherever that is. All right. And if you want to come in legally, you could do so. But at this point, in Italy, they're doing the right thing and stopping this craziness.
You brought up Ukraine earlier. One thing I just want to say is that one of YouTube's they've gotten very lenient, but one of their main things that they always say is you cannot criticize the war in Ukraine. So we're going to refrain from doing that. This has nothing to do with the war as of now or anything to do with that. We're not criticizing it, YouTube. But I wanted to play you this clip from John Solomon. This has to do with the 2020 election. Brett, I don't know if you've seen this, but this is very interesting if this comes to a head. Let's take a listen, everybody. A big shout out. I want to see W's in the chat over on Pilled for Big Bird 38 dropping the phone. Thank you so much. And I know Jack Attack also hit us with a cookie. Thank you both so very much. Salutes to yous. And everybody over there on YouTube, guess what? The super chats are open. You want to hit us with a super chat? Please do so. Even if you want to wish us St. Patty's Day and drop a W, whatever you want to do, a super chat, do so. And Rumble rants are open as well. Let's take a listen to John Solomon about this update.
Scores of raw intelligence reports that show Chinese meddling in the American election. And there's one report raising concern that Ukraine was engaged in a plot to do something bad in the 2024 election to help Joe Biden. I want to repeat that. There is intercepted intelligence that the Trump administration has had for many, many months, in which it is suggested by Ukrainian officials that they're going to try to help Joe Biden win the election using American taxpayer money.
Can you, honest to God, believe that? I know everyone out there can, but I'm letting you know now that if that is true, that China, we know, now Ukraine, was trying to advance Joe Biden, Kamala Harris, whatever you want to say, whatever you want to think, that they were using taxpayer money to advance a president and screw an election. Boy, you got big problems. Again, and I know Brett said it, I've said it, I know people out there say it all the time. We, honest to God, have no allies, and I truly believe that, Brett. Your thoughts on what Mr. John Solomon just spoke about, but don't, watch what you say. That's not me.
No, I understand.
Wait,
I'm gonna leave out all that other stuff. What you were suggesting.
Thank you.
I think when you look at this, I think we might be breaking away from the old guard, the old ally structure that is part of the laundromat. That's what NATO is. That's what the EU is and stuff. And they use this money for very, I think evil ways. And I don't think the NATO Cold War relic argument is already, I think, being addressed with the Iran war. To suggest that nobody wants to send their ships there, no one wants to participate, you're on your own, you got President Trump is we all wanted. I've been saying this left and right on my show that NATO is going to be disbanded. They're going to break away from this. And it's because of the European Union. And if it does happen, President Trump has the power. You don't need the Senate. All you have to do is cut the funding up, cut the funding off, and then there you go. I know technically you need the Senate per se, but President Trump said, you don't need that. We don't need to vote on this. They're not going to do it anyway. I can do it unilaterally. And you know what? Let's see it. I hope he does. I think there are many people who look at the funding of said war per se are just like, we're sick of it. All this money's going out over here. We don't know where that's coming back to, into the LLCs and the coffers of congressmen and senators per se, and many other different, devious groups. I think in some way, when I look at how this is being presented, still the 2020 election, allegedly, purportedly, all right, whatever you want to suggest in some way, that was in some way mismanaged or somehow stolen, as we're suggesting in some way, is that we're seeing the slow drip of this. And if China is involved too, this is really going to blow back. Think about the Iran war right now. All right. It's not going to affect the West as much as it's going to affect the East. That's why Japan came over here, signed a deal just yesterday. All right. And I think it's going to affect South Korea, North Korea. It's going to affect China and a lot of other countries. We only get 4%, 5%. The West only gets. They don't get a whole lot. I mean, a lot of countries are doing business with Russia, and we're doing business and we're selling our oil So I think right now, temporarily, what we're seeing right now is just the over speculation, the manipulation, the price gouging that happens in any type of scenario like hurricanes or other things, and in this context, war. And they hedge their bets and they bet on the futures and they short them when it's convenient. So when people think the Strait of Hormuz is not going to be open and that President Trump and the administration had no plans, they're fooling themselves. They are actually, to put that propaganda out, and President Trump is right to call that out, it is agitprop. To continue on with that nonsense, I think that ultimately it's still moving back to the idea that we're focused on, and it's slowly getting to the point. If the SAVE Act is passed, I don't think it will be passed. I'll be honest with you. You need 60 votes. I just don't see it happening. I think there's enough
We'll
weasels.
be giving updates. There are updates right now.
Yeah, I don't know. I know the House passed at 218 to 213, I think it was, something like that yesterday. But as for where we see in the Senate and stuff, if they don't pass this, I don't know what's going to happen.
Well, I can bring that up to you right now if you'd like. Breaking, Mitch McConnell has voted yes to advance the Save America Act along with Susan Collins. This sets up the Save America's Act's first test vote to successfully be put into place, as Tillis is expected to vote no. It'll likely be 50-50. J.D. Vance will be the tiebreaker. Murkowski and Fetterman said no. That's where we stand right now. That is where we are. Breaking, the U.S. Senate has now enough votes to pass the first test vote for the Save American Act after Susan Collins and Lisa Murkowski voted yes. Big win. Now we just need those 50 yays to enforce the talking filibuster. The Save America Act is moving forward as of right now.
So out of the conference. Okay, so Fetterman didn't sign off on it. Wow, that was interesting.
Yeah.
I thought he would, but
I thought he would too.
I thought he would too. I mean, I thought you would just need it, but where we are right now, that's okay. That sounds positive. I never thought we were going to get there, and I was glad that President Trump did not support Cornyn in any way or support anybody in that primary race. He shouldn't. Let it all play out. Let the people decide in this matter. And I think that the pressure's on. All their names are going to be toggled with this. So you're going to see the people who support free elections that are not being, let's just say, manipulated or controlled. There are certain provisions in there. There are other provisions that have to do with other things. And your name will be, let's just say, tied to this for history. And that's what we'll see. That's what we'll see, the fallout. But as for what you were saying earlier about, Ukraine or anything else regarding the war, anything that is precipitating now, I think a lot of people need take a step back and relax and breathe, because I think we are at two levels. I saw yesterday and the day before. He says the Fed may never open again. Well, we've been talking about that for a while. And I predicted on my show last year when President Trump came in office, I predicted that the Fed will shut down this year, and the IRS, this will be the last year of how the structure of taxes takes place. That will go down as well. And maybe that prediction was right. You can go back and watch my shows. I said that. But as for NATO, I think this is the biggest laundromat. And, what's problematic in some ways, retooling a new alliance for the future. And I think our best bet is, where we're going to go, is some alliance, not only just energy, because I think we're going to do something with Russia. I think the Greenland-Alaska bridge, I think there's a lot of things that a lot of people are not seeing. Once we leave NATO, then our opportunity to forge a lasting peace, a business with Russia, will increase and will dominate the Western Hemisphere. And I think it'll be fantastic. And then everybody will be coming to us, scratching their head, saying, what now? That's why Trump realigned all the tariffs and all this. So they're in their own little world. And I don't think that the United States, the policies, the way we think about migration, immigration, illegal immigration, how we think about the general, let's just say, schematics about how Europe is not aligned with the United States at all. I mean, there's no God in Europe anymore. I mean, it's less than what? They say it's less than 15% that people throughout the continent do not believe in God or do not practice faith in some way. Yeah, because they've been dominated. There's over 90 million Muslims that have moved into the continent. So they have more of a Muslim problem than we have at this moment. But if you set that aside, we have nothing anymore that we could say that we can correlate, congregate, because they've chosen another path. And until they get off that and realign, that we have to go a different direction. And I think that different direction is making sure that we have powerful alliances economically and maybe something else. Maybe there's going to be a new, not a NATO, but something that where America, Russia, and maybe China is going to be the world dominant powers that are going to be globally overseeing the rest of the world. And I think that whether you like it or not, I think China's deep state is being exposed about the election fraud. And that's, I'm not saying Xi per se, but we don't know how far this goes. We don't know who they were working with. Did they blackmail anybody? Did they cajole people into this stuff? You know, all that other stuff is going to change everybody's thought patterns about how they see everything, especially what happened in the House and the Senate right now. And I think they're being squeezed at the moment.
I think deals have been made prior to this. Was during the first administration of Trump, where, you know, we look at China, we look at Saudi Arabia, we look at excuse me, we look at other places that again, North Korea, where President Trump went on that flight and made a ton of deals, and I believe that those deals have stuck. And I'll get to that later on in the episode. But again, I think things are going in the right direction, as what the title of today's show is. You know, the timeline is going towards the greater good. And I really believe that. And I hope that you guys do as well. You got to keep the faith alive. I want to say thank you out there to Dr. Anon 69, which is hilarious. China gearing up to invade Taiwan as the U.S. is busy in Iran. Trump already fortified Taiwan with super soldiers awaiting China's foot soldiers. There is that theory of super soldiers that is out there. I like that theory. That's a cool conspiracy theory. I hope it's real. That'd be awesome. Thank you so much for the 10 bones over there. And Jack Attack with the 2 bones over on YouTube as well. Thank you very much. Appreciate that. And Hogleg71 coming in hot and strong. No Cuomo. Thank you for the cookie and the can. Appreciate that, big dog. Hope you've been hitting the links out there, my man. Weather's been good. Back to cold, though. I know you're very close to me. North Carolina, I believe. It's either Georgia or North Carolina. I always mix that up. I think it's North Carolina. Alex Soros, panic mode. Brett, still on the same topic. The SAVE Act started as a political stunt. Now it's a real threat. This is what Alex Soros posted out there. So again, don't delay. Vote today. Get out there. And, you know, I think if they had this thing in the bag, you wouldn't see people like Alex Soros and a lot of globalists and left-wing lunatics out there saying that, you know, it's a real threat. This is, you know, a thing. And you could say it's a real threat. The reason he's saying that is because this did not come out that long ago. Maybe he has insider information that this sucker's going to be passed. And then what are you going to do with all your votes? What are you going to do with all these people that you flood into America that try to give you an election that's not free, fair, and non-biased? I think that is that's a huge thing. This is panic to me, Brett. What do you think about Alex Soros posting that out there that, you know, this was a political stunt at first, but my God, now it's a real threat? You wouldn't be saying that if it wasn't a real threat, if you weren't panicking over this. You're muted.
That shows you structurally that the Iran war has nothing, it has no effect. I mean, what CNN is putting it out with Harry Hinton, that 89% of people, you know, support President Trump, support the war. So all this other stuff about an economic crisis that is going to be literally of like the 1970s is people are pushing that aside. I mean, yes, we're going to deal with some little short-term hard times, but in this case, this was, I think in some way, this was a deflection. This was a divertisement to what the real thing was, you know, because a lot of us, when I look at the Iran war, do you really care? I mean, I don't really care. I mean, so we're neutering and neutralizing an enemy, a threat that's been a thorn of our side since what, the 70s? I mean, I'll be honest with you, I'm looking forward to what's going to happen in Venezuela and Cuba, which is really in our backyard. And that's what I'm really gleaning at. And I'm excited for. You should be too.
Cleaning up the
And this is,
neighborhood, isn't it?
yeah, I think so. But, you know, they are trying to probably do their best with NGOs and slide money in and out. I wonder how much Thune was getting, how many all these other people were getting from side deals and PAC money that was thrown in there to make sure that they shut this down in some way. I look at it this way: no matter if they don't pass this, they're done, and I think they know they're done. And a President Trump making probably the best, let's just say, realization about coming full circle, where all the MAGA bros are saying he's going to support Cornyn just to get this passed. No, he's not. All right. These people are on their own. He's walking away from them. He's exposing them. And now they're going to be forced to basically capitulate in some way. And hopefully this will be a good thing for us, but I'm not really sure how much of the capitulation this will go forward. It all depends, because if they sign off on this, all right, is there going to be addendums or provisions, and it goes back to the House and they have to cut? I don't know. Or this is just a
We're
done
not
deal.
there yet. Yeah.
Yeah.
Or is it a done deal?
Yeah. I mean, is this a done deal? And it goes back to the House. The House doesn't put any other BS into it, and then goes to the president's desk.
The Democrat Party's over.
Yeah, I mean, well, obviously they're going to lose. You're going to gain seats in Texas, Florida, and many other areas come November. All right, and you need to get out and vote in your local precincts. Get out and vote. It's very important. I mean, obviously, if the SAVE Act, all right, this is a Hail Mary pass. It's really to finalize and refortify the infrastructure of elections, which is our number one thing, the thing we fight about all the time. I think people with short-term memories don't remember what happened in 2020. I know I had discrepancies in Palm Beach County during that time, and I spoke about that. I don't want to see that again, and I do want to see paper ballots. I don't want to see machines. There's other things that are entwined with this, but this is the most important thing, and I will be voting in November regardless. And I know there's primaries all over the place that I will probably be voting too. But I look at this. I don't know how this is going to, impact us in the short term. The interim, as this continues on, if there's no addendums, no attachments, no pork that's assigned to all these things, and it passes, that's great. But I'm forewarning you that I wouldn't be surprised that they'll pass it with certain provisions. The question is, will it get past the House, and will it go to the president's desk and he will sign off on this nonetheless? That's my concern.
You bring up something earlier talking about Biden, and President Trump was meeting with some people today in the White House. Brought up some very interesting things. I just hit my ankle bone on the chair. Whoa, that hurt. President Trump says Biden had no real administration. Let's take a listen to this. This is pretty interesting, going back to it.
I think it's a big mistake. They make a lot of money on trade with the United States. I went out of my way. As you know, they couldn't make a deal with Biden because they had no real administration to make a deal, Biden. But we made a deal.
One more time with that. No real administration.
With Biden because they had no real administration to make a deal, Biden. But we made a deal.
That is a very interesting way of putting things. Does that mean 45 through 47 is real? Is that the real cause of all this? I mean, that's on the table. He says it all the time. I understand that you could say, well, whatever took place in 2020 took place in 2020. Don't really want to get into that because of YouTube. But maybe he's just throwing it out there. They did not have a real administration. It's a very strange sentence, wouldn't you say, Brett?
Well, if we learn anything from not just the Epstein files, which basically showcases a lot of the Biden administration and what it was about, it was a farce. There was somebody allegedly, purportedly, ostensibly playing the role and this whole thing was a
Of the
production.
president, sure.
Yeah, of the president outside the White House. I mean, can you imagine if that is ever going to be told to us during the time of this president? I don't think so. Maybe over time, that information will be some way put together after Trump's administration. But if that is true, and that does come out, it's going to change everything. It's going to change, again, the wag the dog scenario that we've been in, this post-production, the pre-production, everything that continues on, the war in Iran, that you can't, everything is very unsettling because you don't know what to believe. You don't know how to process this. And the people that are really engaged in trying to figure out a lot of things, they're also losing their mind about a lot of things that are coming out. Some are just, okay, move along. Let's get to the next subject. But there are going to be a lot of people that will find out later on that interim, that timeout, well, it was set up to be for you to understand and allow all these things to happen to keep these people in some type of bird cage, Faraday cage, and locked in and let them do what they do to make sure that, later on that they'll be prosecuted for all the crimes that they have committed, which is it's going to be high treason. I mean, what is it? 18 U.S. Code, sedition, 25246. I mean, it has to be, and we're never going to see it. That's the sad part. We're never going to, that's what breaks me.
But you can. I understand where you're going. I don't mean to cut you off, but people talking about masks and the president's wearing a mask the vice president of the United States was wearing a mask and all this. I mean, that you probably couldn't sell to a lot of people.
No.
But why don't you just talk about the fucking soundstage? That was weird. A fake set that's all over the internet. That's not like that's secret or something on 8kun or 4chan. You pan back the cameras, which they did multiple times. He's not even there. Half the time he's in an Oval Office. It's summertime outside and it's snowing in the window behind him.
Right.
It's that part is.
I just don't think we're ever going to. That's why I said the Iran war. A lot of people say it's already been done, and a lot of this is post production.
Yes.
Keep that in mind.
Yes.
Now we have a limited amount of information from a window that we see on certain news platforms, fake news media, where they have live video feeds at nighttime where you see missiles going up, but you don't see them hitting a destination. You just see booms and explosions and stuff. But that's a limited amount of information that's already being discussed. All right. That's let's just say putting pen to paper. You're just showing a certain amount of stuff that's happening, but you never see anything about the Ukraine war. But it's raging, hundreds of billions of dollars, $300 billion. You see nothing of that. What if it's all an artifice? It's already been done, and we're just moving through a timeline, and that timeline is to bring this forward. No, you see how nobody's talking. There are leakers that are out there, but the timeline, we're moving forward with this, and we're saying that there's a war. We're saying that this is happening. We're saying this is happening, but what are we seeing? Yeah, the war is real. I get that. But how real is it to you and I? How real is it that we're selling it to the American public? How real is it that we can get our hands wrapped around it in a live time feed? You're not just because you're watching these feeds that are at night between Lebanon and Israel and Middle East and all these different countries, and you see some fireworks go off and stuff, and an explosion here and that. How can you determine or not that those things are live action role playing video games? You don't. You can't really address the issue because what we just saw the last 4 years and how bad it was, and what they did to January 6ers, what they did to the First Amendment, what they did to a lot of people, and what they did. I just think that in some way, this amazing production, theatrical masterpiece that is going on, still eludes a lot of people in a lot of ways. And that's why I say don't get drawn into all this other nonsense and BS as we discussed on Sunday, because all you're going to do is be pigeonholed and categorized in this. You have to be far removed from how you process these things and take it one day at a time. Don't sit there and say, oh, it's like he's doing this or he's doing that, and you get so reactive, so emotive that your emotional intelligence just drops like your blood pressure, or goes up like your blood pressure. You can't be like that. You got to be comfortable with the understanding is that what we're all seeing right now may be already done, and it looks as real as it did. And I don't know if we were asleep or how this is being, categorized and orchestrated, man. But I'm completely convinced that we're seeing everything of our production. I can't put my finger on it. I can't taste it.
I think that there
it,
is. I understand that you can't touch it, you can't taste it, you can't smell it. I understand that, but I don't want this to come off like there is stuff going on in Iran. People are dying. You can't. I would not chalk this up, and I know you weren't to a video game, because that's the same thing as saying people that what took place at Butler wasn't real. Like
right.
There's a
no. I'm not I'm not making that.
I know
comparison.
you're not, but people will say that about you
right.
and this show, being like, well, they're saying that what's taking place in Iran is totally fake. And I'm like, well, I've heard a bunch of liberal people out there saying that what took place in Butler, Pennsylvania was fake, but people really died, and people are coming out of the back of a C-30 in a casket,
right.
Coming back home.
I'm not saying that either.
Yeah.
I'm not saying that either. There are people dead. We have 10 Americans. So the things that are being purported, that are being reported, I mean, absolutely, they are real. I'm just talking about the minutia of everything.
I agree in the middle of all of this, or maybe there, the underbelly of all this, that there is a production side. I agree with you on that.
Yeah. Well, let's just go back to the memes, the tropes, the mimetic warfare that was going on about the cardboard boxes of the gay Ayatollah. I mean, that in itself is hilarious. I mean, when you really think about the Sun, the gay Ayatollah, and all these the mimic warfare that's being the propaganda.
Sure.
There is so much agitprop behind all this stuff. I mean, Trump basically, he does contradict himself all the time. And the media, I have a bunch of articles where on Mediaite and Axios, who are not that are not right wing, they're left wing rags, but they actually put up what he says and what he doesn't say, and they're not actually cutting it out. He says this, and the next day he says this. And so he's keeping people off balance. It's not that he's contradicting himself. I think that he's purposely throwing out all these different things out there so people can get focused on a variety of things and not get so, let's just say, absorbed or self-absorbed by how the media is going to produce this. He wants to take away their production and make sure that you focus on what he is telling you, and whatever that is. That's the theatrical masterpiece behind the scenes that is happening. That's the problem. So you're faced with one thing. You're watching the media, the fake news media, and they're putting out all this lies and all this other bullshit, and you can't trust them. You've known for a very long time you can't trust anything they say. So they put up what President Trump says. Then he put up something that he puts up that's contrary to what he says. Then it contradicts him. Then he comes back and says, no, this is what I meant to say about this. You just took this and cut and spliced it. Okay? And so what he's basically saying, he's calling them out. That's why the FCC chair and Brandon Carr has laid out that they're not reporting the war accurately enough to fill in the blanks. And so that he has to do this in some way to get past the media so people will pay attention what is actually being said and actually being done. That's just my give and take about how I see this. Because when I put stuff together for a show. I put all the left-wing stuff in there only because I want to make sure that I cover how they perceive things, but then in reality discuss what is really going on, because that's the best way you can glean. You could sit there and look at that's the only way that you can glean this through and say, infer that how this is being reacted to is not really that point. And I think a lot of people got to be careful about how the media picks and chooses his vernacular. Whether they splice it and you didn't see it live, that's the other thing. So if you're watching him live, I'm like, I remember he said that, and then you go back and watch something from some media bullshit outlet, they twist it a little bit. And I think that's the problem.
Yeah.
That's where the perception management
there's
is
good
problematic.
people on both sides. If anybody remembers that when he was talking about the KKK. Yeah. There's both people there's good people on both sides. That's not what he said if you finish the clip.
He didn't say that. That was the point that I was trying to say. That is the artifice.
I was just giving an example.
I'm glad you picked that up.
I was giving you an example of what you were talking about. Yeah. Linda Perino says he's playing them. Yeah. There's another side of that.
Absolutely.
Trump keeping the deep state confused. I agree with you on that as well. Dr. Anon 69. It would have been bad enough to have had the real Joe Biden signing orders with the auto pen, but it was a fake Biden using the auto pen. Double atrocity. Yeah.
Well, let me say this about the auto pen, if you don't mind. The one thing about the auto pen, you see how the DOJ had dropped the case about the auto pen because they felt like in some way it was reported or purportedly it was responded to by the media that they dropped the case because there was no case that the auto pen is legit. And so the case quietly went away, and then the media picked up on it, and then they're still saying, why you still have the auto pen in the White House as President Joe Biden's picture? You know what I'm saying? And that's the beauty of it.
That is
because the media is lying to you about the whole thing. They know about this. They're all being paid and bought off and blacked off. That's why he still has the picture there. Why don't you take that down? Someone asked him, why don't you take that down? Because now the Justice Department dropped it. Because they know it's real. The thing is, they're giving you their version of what's real, even though we see it from his side. President Trump is basically showing you everything behind the curtain. And it's never going to be reported the way you think it should be because that's how it is until the FCC pulls their license. That's just my opinion.
No, I understand that. It makes some, and I think that all of us can understand this. And if you don't, then I'll just let you know. Just know that there's a portion of all of us, a percentage in every single one of us, that we sleep a little bit better at night knowing what we know. And I think that's a good thing, knowing that we're on the right side of history and we're not being duped and we're not being set up and we're not being brainwashed and all these sorts of things that the emotional wrecking of the left deals with every single day. And I sleep good knowing that. I wish they would join our side, but unfortunately that's not going to happen. More on this. Speaking of past presidents, President Trump had something to say about Obama, talking about the $1.8 billion in cashola that he gave to Iran. Let's take a listen. Bringing it back full circle.
Prime Minister, Mr. President, the Irish president has said that your war against Iran is illegal. It's an attack on international law.
Who said that?
The Irish president.
Look.
The Irish president.
He's lucky I exist. That's all I can say. Because if you're going to allow countries that are sick and demented, and they are demented, to have nuclear weapons, everybody in the whole world should be very thankful. And I'm disappointed in NATO, very disappointed. I'm disappointed in a couple of other countries too. But they should be very thankful that this group of people feels the way we do. Because if a country like Iran was allowed to have the power of a nuclear weapon, if we didn't stop them, I stopped them twice. I stopped them my first term when I terminated the Iran nuclear deal, which was Barack Obama's deal. It was one of maybe the worst deal I've ever seen. It gave everything to Iran, including billions of dollars in green cash. I don't mean cash, I mean green cash flown over by airplanes. I can't to this day believe that was allowed to happen. And come to think of it, it would be a good thing for somebody to look at. Does the president have the power to hand hundreds of millions of dollars of cash to terrorists? But it began with that, and I terminated that deal. If I'd flown over by airplanes,
it would be good. It would be a good idea for someone to look into that. Now, they've already looked into it. Will we be seeing something here in the near future or in the future of a former president paying off and paying, as President Trump said, terrorists in the form of greenbacks flown over on a plane? One more time.
it gave everything to Iran, including billions of dollars in green cash. I don't mean cash, I mean green cash flown over by airplanes. I can't to this day believe that was allowed to happen. And come to think of it, it would be a good thing for somebody to look at. Does the president have the power to hand hundreds of millions of dollars of cash to terrorists? But it began with that, and I terminated that deal. If I didn't terminate that deal, we might not be here right now. If I didn't terminate that deal, unbelievable nuclear holocaust would have taken place. And then I did it a second time when we hit them with the B-2 bombers, and we totally obliterated their potential nuclear weapon that they would have had in less than 1 month. They think 2 weeks, but in less than 1 month. And it would have been, I believe it would have been a much different world than it is right now.
So, there you go. Your thoughts on that, Brett? Just, kind of quickly if you want, just going into that. I know a lot of people, especially in this community, know about that. I mean, the posts on that. Him bringing that back up makes me think that there may be, future endeavors or future consequences for former President Obama at this point. If someone is to, in fact, look into this, which I'm sure that they've done probably in the first term.
Yeah, I'm listening to what he says, and I think the biggest discussion that comes out of it, there's a proportional amount of people on X that don't believe in nuclear missiles. They don't believe they exist. They're not real. It's all fake and gay, and it's not what we understand it to be. We saw images of laser beams being shot off a battleship during this whole thing. Whether that's real or not, I don't know. I mean, because you got to be careful about the AI. There's a lot of stuff that that's all over the place, and I would assume that we have technology that's so advanced that they're using it right now. But there are a bunch of people that believe that this whole thing, this narrative about nukes, because you see it on X saying, so it's not about nukes. Everything would happen with Joe Kent. It's not about this. They weren't an imminent threat. Then the people start to come out and say, see, nukes aren't real. They're using that. This whole Cold War scenario wasn't real. There's no such thing as nuclear missiles and stuff like that. I want someone to, prove to me there is not. If you have nuclear power plants, you're going to tell me Turkey Point up in upstate New York didn't have a problem or it didn't crash. You're saying Chernobyl wasn't real. I mean, what are you saying? Is there any proof of anything at this point that
what was the one in Japan, chat?
Yeah, Fukushima. So you had Fukushima, you have Chernobyl, you have Turkey Point. 3 Mile Island was based on that movie and stuff back in the 70s. This is why they didn't want to put this out there. What I'm saying is that there's a contingent of people who just don't believe we don't have weaponry to blow up the planet or the country or the world in some way. Okay. And that will lead to this greatest amount of despair, poverty, and poison and death. I mean, that's out there. So when he says this, a lot of people out there, see, it's not real. It's all fake. They weren't imminent. We didn't need to do this in some way. I think people are still, again, they're extrapolating a certain narrative and a viewpoint to push back about, like they think they get these types of daily briefings from the president and from all these clandestine agencies about what's taking place, and they're able to glean and infer what is happening and stuff. See, previously with other presidents, like the Autopen president, then you have the Muslim president, and then you have the stupid president, George Walker Bush. a lot of people just don't have faith anymore. They don't believe anything anymore. And they're completely just outraged over everything. And some of the tropes, the mimic warfares that are moving in that go back to the Iraq and Afghanistan war, which was a real war that we went through, because I know people who died on there. I know people who died in the Trade Center. I mean, the idea that that we're trying to garner some information or extract information that is completely different from this president, it's hard to do so, because the fact is stuff he's telling you, okay, that the media is saying this and doing that. And so when he tries to get out of his point in some way, a lot of people kind of spit back in his face and say, no, that's not real, because other people have been leaking. Other people have been disseminating information that is just fake, and the narrative is not real. And I wonder when the FCC chair Brendan Carr is going to go after CNN and all these other things, because there was a lot of AI generated videos that did not happen during the time of the first initial wave and the second wave of response. So I don't know what's going to happen. Some of them have walked this back in some way, but I just don't know how we're going to convince people. And I don't think it even matters anymore, because you can't convince people that the threat was real in any way because of what we went through 20 years ago and the Patriot Act, because the only threat that really that was happening was against us, and you saw that through the Patriot Act. So a lot of alarm bells go up and people freak out. It's like, oh, they're going to come after our free speech again and our Second Amendment. And there are elements that are happening right now. But if you don't have faith and trust in this president, forget about his administration. You voted for the guy. You didn't vote for all those other people. You voted for him, okay? And so you have to trust in some way that he's trying to maneuver around certain protocols without releasing information, without leaking it out, being, let's just say, cognizant about spreading something that could potentially backfire in some way. He's got to say things and be duplicitous about because of this. And it's unfortunate. It's so unfortunate. If we had just a moniker of honest broker media, all right, we would be in a better position. But they're so against them. You have so many people on X that have said, I'm out of MAGA, that we're never MAGA, and I don't even know what that means anymore. America first, whatever trope that you want to assign that, I'm done with all that stuff. It's either you support what is happening, okay, or you don't. There's no in between anymore. There's no box that I'm going to be categorized in. I'm so done with that, and I've come to the agitprop understandings that, as President Trump describes this, what are alternatives in some way? He sees a problem that he saw with Obama. He took the first office of presidency after Obama's term. He understands that why did Obama, which still has not explained to us, and you know what? Maybe people should focus on that. Why was $1.7 billion of pallets of cash flown to Iran? What was it for? We haven't even discussed the chemical agents that were involved there in some way. This Karg Island obviously is an infrastructure which also controls a lot of the oil, 90% of the oil, but it's also, there's a lot of other things there that they were developing and devising at the time. We just don't know. They're not going to read us in. I mean, you have to have the faith in some way that this was what we needed to do in order to get peace, for this peace unification that was going to take place with 20 countries in there, or it was never going to end the right way. And he had to do it at one time or another. And whether you believe that they were an imminent threat or they were a relative threat, you have to think about over a long period of time of how much of the threat they were. And if you go back to the Iraq, Afghanistan war, they were a major threat with the IEDs. Yep. And even the Democrats, okay, who were attacking Bush and Rummy, Don Rumsfeld, about making sure that there's more money for the infrastructure of our mobile units to be fortified, to be protected from the IEDs. Go back and watch some of the stuff, and I see it all over the place about how much money was in to reinsure and protect the metals that are for these utility vehicles that are driving around Iraq that weren't going to be blown out of the sky, where people are losing limbs, eyes, legs, arms, hands, and their life. Don't forget that. And if they are from Iran, well, you know what? We're not going to just walk away and say, okay, you got us. It's just not going to happen. This guy is eye for an eye. He's going to come after you. The only problem that a lot of people have now, Tom, is that they just don't see the kind of, let's just say, arrest or prosecutions or anything going away that we're supposed to be told. So a lot of people have a lackluster belief that what happened with James Comey? What happened with the mustache guy? And he's out there saying President Trump went too far with Iran. I mean, can you believe that shit? And that guy's all about war. So, I mean, at this point, there's just so much stuff that's really bending the minds of people. They don't know what to think. They don't know what to feel and stuff. And my attitude is to simply let it be. There's no point in fighting this, no point in discussing it, no point in breaking this down. Right? It's never going to get through you. You were never about to learn about the Iran war in the way they will. Eventually, you will be told a good amount that's not being discussed now because, let's face it, what J.D. Vance said. I was in a situation room. I was being read into all this stuff, and it's classified. People like, it's classified. These wars should not be classified. We should be told the truth. Well, you're going to be told. I mean, have you been told the truth about UFOs? Have you been told the truth about anything? Why would you think this war is going to be anything different? Were you told the truth about Iraq and Afghanistan? I mean, the weapons of mass destruction. Have your short-term memories forgot about that? Is just move on. That's my attitude. Move on. There's no point about it's happening, and it's happened. Let it be. Focus on where I think the really big targets are, Cuba and Venezuela, and how it affects us, and Mexico, which is, I think, on the chopping block right now, which it affects us directly. And to me, I'm more concerned about that than anything else.
Going into this really quick, I wanted to show you guys this. Bibi Netanyahu appears once again. This time, wishing Iranians a happy Nowruz, whatever that is. He spoke a few words in Farsi, so what do you think? Is it real? Let's look.
To the brave people of Iran, I wish you, as I do every year, a happy holiday season beginning with the Festival of Lights. It signifies the age-old belief of the Iranian people that light will triumph over darkness, that good will triumph over evil. This year, this holiday has special meaning. Celebrate it with your friends, your family, your loved ones. I take this opportunity to wish you a happy Nowruz, a year of freedom, a new beginning of hope to all of you, my dear friends. Nowruz Piruz, Payonde Iran. To the brave people of Iran.
Think that's real? I don't know. Why would he do that? Don't know. But he posted again. This was a few hours later. He even changed. As you can see here, Bibi Netanyahu appears with a statement on the elimination of Iran's Ali Larijani. They can't fake so much, but he switched outfits already.
הבוקר חיסלנו את עלי לריג'ני. עלי לריג'ני זה הבוס של משמרות המהפכה, שזה חבורת הגנגסטרים שמנהלת בפועל את איראן. אנחנו חיסלנו לצידו גם את מפקד הבסיס, זה העוזרים של הגנגסטרים, שהם מפיצים טרור ברחובות טהרן וערים אחרות של איראן נגד האוכלוסייה. גם שם אנחנו פועלים מהאוויר עם מטוסים של חיל האוויר, עם כטב"מים, וגם שם פועלים. אנחנו מערערים את המשטר הזה בתקווה לתת לעם.
So just letting you know, yeah, they've taken out a lot, supposedly. I don't know. Is this guy alive or dead? I know I have my opinion on this. I'm not going to really get into it, but it's very interesting that you do two posts and you're wearing two different things, two different ties, two different rooms. I mean, these two times posting these videos were very close together. I know this is all over the place. Could be bullshit, could be something. I don't know. What say you, chat? What do you guys think? Let me know. By the way, if you haven't hit the like button on YouTube, please hit the like button right now. I'd appreciate it. Everybody on Rumble, show that love, show that support. I would really appreciate it. Rumble rants are welcome. And please hit the like button over there. That would be great. And Pilled, you know what to do. 5,000 gold pill challenge would be fantastic. Hope you liked the thumbnail. I love that meme. What do you think, Brett? You think all this stuff is fake when it comes to Bibi not being around anymore and everything's AI? I know a lot of people are saying, well, you could see his wedding ring disappear. You could see that the two women around him that are walking outside where he's on like this kind of, I don't know, like a terrace type situation, walking with two women. One of them is just a complete actress for Israel. People have looked her up. It was all over Akun. What do you think's real and when it comes to him?
I don't think we can infer or decipher what's real or not.
It's kind of a waste
I think the idea that people put out these videos in some way to convince you that he's dead or that he's alive or someone's wearing a mask or not. In this case, there's so many fake AI generated images of the war. And I think here's the point. I think it's more illustrious to say that if it was announced that Bibi was dead, there would be a pandemonium of, let's just say, support about that. I think a lot of the Israeli people don't like him per se, and we saw that when President Trump was visiting. We saw the way they reacted to this, and there's a lot of people who in America that don't like the guy. I don't think, this gives media, the fake media in some way to suggest that we're losing the war. We're losing the narrative. We're losing the discussion. They're not going to tip their hand one way or another. And I just don't know if he's dead or alive. And I actually, at this point, I don't really care. I don't really care.
It's out there to make us look stupid.
Yeah, I think so too. I think that if you're going to toggle this out there and say, he's dead, and, you're still, again, you have no way of verifying that he's dead. You don't. No. You have no way of verifying it's dead. Yeah. Then, again, you look like a boob. And I think that's the problem. We continue down these courses of because now we got not just the fake media, you have fake IA generated stuff that you can't one way or another prove or disprove. And so we're stuck in this idea of saying, yeah, I watched this video, he's dead, or I watched this video and dead. Who cares? How does this affect you? Does this really affect you if he's alive or dead? I know there's a lot of people who don't like him. I'm not a fan of him. You know what? I don't really care. So I just think that you're getting sucked into something that's unnecessary, all right? That's not necessary. And I think a lot of people are like, he's dead, and this is a good thing, the war's going to end, and all this, whatever they want to toggle with to make this more exploitive. And I think it's all about generating revenue and getting likes and clicks and all this other stuff. And it's really not about the functionality of having an honest discussion, because again, you still don't know how bad Tel Aviv was hit. You still don't know what and who was hit simultaneously. We still don't know the damage in Iran per se. We're still left in some holding pattern or trying to figure things out. And I think everything else is all subterfuge, and you got to be careful about how you go out there and say, yeah, well, I saw this or I saw that. How do you know if any of it's real? That's what I'm saying. Everything right now can be classified as an artifice. I'm serious.
Yeah.
Can be classified as an artifice because the imagery right now is so real. It's painfully disgusting, and you lose your mind over it, Tom. You do. It's like, and I don't think it's necessary to do so.
Just in, and I'll get to some thank yous here in a second. Just in, Trump's national director of counterterrorism, Kent, resigns. Quote, I cannot in good conscience support the ongoing war in Iran. Iran posed no imminent threat to our nation. That's hilarious. And it is clear that we started this war due to pressure from Israel and is a powerful American lobby. That's what a lot of folks think. But I have something that I believe will change your minds if you have not seen it. But, yeah, Joseph Kent, you are a bum for sure. Let me go ahead and show you this.
Your director of national counterterrorism, Joe Kent, he just resigned today. He said he can't support your conflict with Iran. What's your reaction to that? And did you?
Well, I read his statement. I always thought he was a nice guy, but I always thought he was weak on security, very weak on security. I didn't know him well, but I thought he seemed like a pretty nice guy. But when I read his statement, I realized that it's a good thing that he's out, because he said that Iran was not a threat. Iran was a threat. Every country realized what a threat Iran was. The question is whether or not they wanted to do something about it. And many people, many of the greatest military scholars are saying for years that presidents should have taken out Iran because they wanted a nuclear weapon. They were, if we didn't do the attack, or if, I'll go a step further, if I didn't terminate the Iran nuclear deal given to us, one of the worst deals ever made by Barack Hussein Obama. Remember when they sent Boeing 757s over there, loaded with cash? Hundreds of millions of dollars. You would have been very happy. This was a wonderful, they sent hundreds of millions. People forget that. Does anybody remember? Right? You remember. Hundreds of millions of dollars in a Boeing 757. I think they had two of them loaded. They took the seats out and they put cash. And it was so much that there wasn't a bank in Virginia, Maryland, or D.C. that had any money left. They stripped them of all their money, put it into place, sent it to Iran, almost as ransom. That's not going to happen with Trump. And nobody ever did anything about it. Nobody ever said anything about it. Can you imagine if I did that? So they've been a threat for a long time. But they've really been a threat. If I didn't terminate Obama's horrible deal that he made, the Iran nuclear deal, you would have had a nuclear war 4 years ago. You would have had nuclear holocaust, and you would have had it again if we didn't bomb the site. So when somebody is working with us that says they didn't think Iran was a threat, we don't want those people, because, and there are some people, I guess I would say that, but they're not smart people or they're not savvy people. Iran was a tremendous threat. And virtually every NATO nation, and this is the thing, if they told me it wasn't a threat, and therefore they don't want to help, but when they say it was a threat, and it was a major threat, every one of them, I think every one of them, I don't know of one that said they're not a threat, but when they say it was a threat, but we're not going to help, I think they're very foolish. You know, it's interesting.
So again, it goes back to what Brett was saying, that, you know, everyone's thinking about Iran now, but, you know, those of us who are, you know, 90s, early, mid-90s, you start thinking about this early 2000s, and I was still in high school at that time. I don't give a damn about Iran, but you have to understand that this threat has been around, like Brett was saying, for a very, very long time. And for Joseph Kent to come out and say, you know, being at the stage where he is, and was rather, about, you know, counterterrorism and all these sorts of things, saying that they weren't even a threat and we're being controlled by Israel, good riddance. You're a bum. You're a nobody. And you're right. Trump won. I trust Trump when he says it. It was a threat. Better believe it. For sure, Trump didn't want him anyway. Yeah, this guy was a bum for sure. And you know, he's delving really deep. I mean, these are multiple videos that I've gotten from different accounts. I will show you, but he's continuously talking about Barack Obama and the pallets of cash. I didn't know that. That's a new thing that I didn't know, talking about the banks in Virginia, Maryland, Delaware. There's no money in the banks. And he's like, imagine if I did that. Imagine if you went to all of those banks, $1.8 billion, they're wiped out. There's no cash. You can't go to ATMs. You can't get money out. You can't do anything because they're wiped out of 3 states. All for what? Imagine that. Can you even imagine that? Says here, Joe Kent says Iran has been after Trump since January of 2020, after he ordered the targeting killing of the terrorist Soleimani. This isn't a new threat. Well, he sure did backtrack on that. Joe Kent's current wife, I will say this, remember, watch the wives. Joe Kent's current wife writes for a crazy lib Max Blumenthal at the Gray Zone outlet. She's been rage posting about Trump for a little while now. She probably convinced him to quit, or Trump was going to fire him, so he quit first to make a virtue scene out of it. And the people who say Trump changed seem to do a lot of changing themselves. Think of what he said from the beginning. that Iran wasn't a threat. And as you could see here, he was saying in January of 2020 that this isn't a new threat when it comes to Iran. Again, a lot of changing face here within these people. Watch the wives, folks. Watch the wives. Brett, your thought on that? I want to get your take on the banks, man. Isn't that crazy?
It is nuts. I mean, for him to put that out there, I don't think that's been put out there or anybody's been analyzing that.
Before you say that,
yeah,
both of us didn't know that. Trump,
Yeah.
one, didn't know if back when all this was going on with, she mentioned earlier, and I'm sure a lot of people in the chats didn't know about the 1.8 billion unless you were in this community, because no one talked about it.
Yeah.
No one spoke a word about $1.8 billion worth of cash being transferred to Iran.
Actually, physical amounts of cash
Greenbacks.
put on pallets sent there.
No one would have known that. No one knows that.
And we did
now
that
it's
as
out
to
there.
what? Bribe them from what? We didn't use that as a bribe. I mean, Obama sent that to him to help
I think
them.
it's funding terrorism.
Yeah. I mean, when that all comes out, forget about it. I mean, I think the short-term memory about all that really is like, really? How do you think they got so powerful? You think Obama didn't set them up in some way so they were able to have this this fierce force of drones and all these other different types of missiles and stuff that they
Didn't
purchased
Biden
through?
send them money as well? Somebody mentioned
Well,
that in
no,
the chat.
Biden and Harris released, there was 16 to 18 billion dollars that was shored up, that was blocked, that they were a transfer of money or wealth that NATO or the UN had blocked for them from receiving of basically their transfer of money of oil. Okay. And we blocked that. We blocked any transactions
Good.
that they were going to do this. And they're like, and then before they left, they released it. And so they got even more money. All right, their own money. It wasn't money that we gave them. It was money that they made off selling your oil that we had blocked through the banks. But at this point, I don't know what to make of how you see Iran. But Iran, okay, in comparison to Iraq, yeah, we never should have been in Iraq. They didn't have weapons of mass destruction. In fact, Saddam Hussein, okay, was an enemy of Iran. We could have utilized him. But what did we do? All right. He wanted to go back on his what? He wanted to change the currency, just like Gaddafi. He wanted to be in his own gold dollar, some type of thing. He wanted to get off the petrodollar in some way. He wanted to do a lot of other things. It wasn't, yeah, he was a bad dude. We put him there. His kids were bad dudes. No one's going to argue that. But we need to go to war for that. Okay. And the lies that were sold in that war, okay, always reverberate back to where we are right now, because the number one question is, boots on the ground can't be. And President Trump is, what he's trying to do is reestablish a new way of thinking and saying we have to get out of the old petrodollar discussion about why we went to wars there and focus on where we are now. All right. I mean, everything about 9/11, the wars were a lie. Everything about it. All right. And we're still stuck in that loop. But the idea that this president wants to take us to a new domain with an opportunity of taking out our enemies, all right, and making sure they don't attack what he's trying to create, what he did in Venezuela. We're going to find out about all that stuff. Dude, they just set up the American flag with a new embassy there. We haven't had one. We're talking about a lot of things that Venezuela is going to be a part of the United States. Are we going to annex them? We're doing that with Cuba. He's basically saying Cuba's going to be part of the United States. He's like, I can take control of that in a second, and nobody can do a goddamn thing about it. Do you understand those words and how amazing it is?
I got it pulled up right now.
This is a new paradigm, but I want to talk about Joe Ken, if you don't mind.
Okay.
I just want to say this. All right. It was reported by multiple people in the administration that he was leaking. This was a guy who was a libertarian, all right, before Trump got in, then a Democrat as Trump was in his first term, and then switched to run for Congress as a Republican during the Biden term. He didn't win. And what happened was, all right, he was put through. There was a lot of support for him in some ways by the same type of people that also supplant a libertarian, liberal viewpoint in some way. They like Joe Kent. The question will be, if for 3 or 4 months that he was phased out of these clandestine private discussions with ODNI and intelligence apparatus as an asset in there, why didn't ODNI Gabbard fire him as she was supposed to do? Apparently, Trump and the administration or administration officials are saying she was told to fire him. And so the question is, was that the case? Or was this strung along long enough so he could be exposed as a leaker? And the question is, did Tucker Carlson, who was talking with him, as it's also being purported, okay, in some way, I'm not even going to say allegedly, I'm saying purported, as it's being purported, as it's being reported, that they were in communication. So again, was Tucker Carlson being used as a shill to leak this information and he was communicating with him, or was it vice versa? I don't know. I don't think we know. And the question is, what's going to happen? So did he get fired or just resign to save face? And so it doesn't cause the administration. And then he went out with his diatribe about suggesting that, hey, I pushed back about this war. And he went on and on to ramble about all this stuff and then try to undercut the administration. It's one thing to push back against your president of the United States. You're allowed to have a point, opinion, and viewpoint. But when the president makes a decision, you go along with it, whether you like it or not, and you shut your mouth. And if you don't do that, you're a fucking traitor. And so I look at this guy, no matter he lost his wife to ISIS and all these other things, and that he's, a great patriot per se, and all these other things. Well, that's how Vindman is looked at. What I'm saying right now is that the backstop of all this information is very disconcerting. So we're going to see a lot of people that fall into the guise of this MAGA bro or MAGA America First people that turn out to be no different from the categories that they're trying to put us in, and they were deliberately hiding their feelings about who they are and maybe misleading a lot of different things and speaking to other people because, again, a lot of people are showing their two-face.
Let me get some thank yous out there. I want to say thank you to Trump1 says, great show. I appreciate that. Hogleg71 with the cookie. Thank you. Thea with 700 gold pills. Bada boom, bada bing. Thank you so much, guys. Zach from Tennessee and Key the Uranium One evidence for the world to see. Bye-bye, Hillary and Barry. Woo. Good tie-in. Thank you, Zachary. Good to see you. Thea, thank you for the can. Zach from Tennessee. I asked him, please explain to the folks at home what Uranium One is. It's where Hillary and Obama sold uranium to Russian companies named Rosatom via a Canadian company with ties to Uranium One, Hillary and Barry. High treason knowingly, folks. Thank you, Zachary. I appreciate it. Bigly, thank you guys very much. If we can get 5,000 gold pills, that'd be really cool, and I'd really appreciate it. Please share this stream as well. If you're on YouTube, help out with the super chats as well. You can help out Brett Collins by going to buymeacoffee.com/WeAreRise. You can hit that up too. Checking over there on the old Rumble. No love, so support. If you want to hit up the like button over there, please do so. I'd really appreciate it. Thank you very much. What else do I got here? Oh, well,
they want to know when you're going to do a call-in show. Remember we used to do that?
Oh, yeah. I don't know. I'll have to think about it. President Trump suggests Venezuela could be the 51st state. Okay, so we got to get into this. You were mentioning it earlier that they are now flying the American flag at the embassy there, which they have not done in forever. Is the United States finally getting a 51st state? On Monday night, President Trump made an interesting comment about Venezuela. In a post on Truth Social, the 47th president suggested that Venezuela could be the 51st state of the United States. He's also said that about Greenland. He's also said that about Mexico, maybe, other places out there. In a post on Truth Social, the 47th president suggested that Venezuela could be the 51st state. Very interesting. President Trump suggests that Venezuela could become the 51st state after their stunning World Baseball Classic semifinal win over Italy on Monday set up a blockbuster final in Miami against Team USA, one of my favorite Braves. I'm a huge Braves fan. I enjoyed watching it. I did watch some of it. Tuesday's finals, blah, blah, blah. Just minutes after the Venezuela team fought back to beat Italy 4-2 in advance. I'm thinking of Acuna, by the way. In advance into Tuesday's hugely anticipated game versus USA. Trump took to Truth Social with a message about making Venezuela a U.S. state. Wow, Venezuela defeated Italy tonight 4-2 in the WBC baseball semifinals. He wrote late Monday night, they are looking really great. Good things are happening, too, to Venezuela lately. I wonder what this magic is all about. Statehood 51, anyone? President Donald Trump put. Trump has previously underlined his wish for Canada to become the 51st state. That's the one I couldn't remember. But it is the first time he has suggested a move for Venezuela in the aftermath of removing Maduro by force. And there you can see the post right there. Brett, you have more knowledge on this. I mean, pretty much we're all brought up to speed.
Well, that's the first time.
51st state
of Venezuela.
Yeah, I don't try.
Well, I mean,
go ahead.
No, I mean, well, here's the question. Let me throw this out to you. He was talking about Cuba just today and yesterday and stuff. And he was saying, well, they're not in the actual area of hurricanes per se, which they typically are not. Puerto Rico is, and the Caribbean islands and all this other stuff. But they do get hurricanes like Florida. But, you know, in some way, Cuba's going to, let's just say, going to need a lot from us, a lot from private businesses in some way. Is Cuba going to be easily annexed? Because let's face it, they are a dead stick. Right now, they're in a total blackout. There was an earthquake that just happened there. I mean, Cuba right now can be easily taken over from the United States rather quickly. Question is, do we want those people coming in our country? We don't know what type of people are living in that country right now. Kind of uneducated. Yeah, I mean, that's a very good a point. Something of a third world dystopian futuristic island. Venezuela's a different type of nut. And I think that him leading to that with the riches of oil, the resources, the gold, I think easily with the oil companies coming in, it could be easily in some way annexed. And what if he wants to make it a 51st state in some way? We have a Venezuelan population in some way. I think that the positives for that in some way are a lot higher than what Cuba is. Now, you can annex Cuba like Puerto Rico, make it a tourist destination, a military base like they have in Pearl Harbor. You could do a variety of different things and how I see Cuba. But I think the upside of Venezuela is much more beneficial to the financial security and prosperity of America and South America. I think so. And so, again, I don't look at the two so differently. And I think the location and the viability of the actual island per se and the destination of it, the production of viability that would come out of Cuba would be completely different as I see Venezuela. That's how I look at it. I don't know how everybody else feels about it in some way. But to me, you know, for Cuba to be taken over, as President Trump is so loosely put out there, it's just extraordinary. I don't think people really process the idea of the Cuban Missile Crisis and everything. 67 years and understanding, if you live in Florida, you understand the destruction of what that has done to our state with the Mario boat lift, unleashing the prisons onto us in the 80s and the 90s and what they did to this state with the violence and the drugs. Yeah, I think Tom is right. I think that in some way we have to look about securing not the financial state, but securing the island in some way before it becomes some zombie nation and that there's no food left and it's going to turn into Haiti in our backyard, because we don't want that. You know, you want to make sure that the relatives and the revolution comes to an end, that people find some form of democracy. Some find a future that they're able to turn the power back on, water's restored, humanitarian, sanitation, food, everything. I mean, it's they'll accept us as liberators much more quickly than we were accepted in Iraq. 100%. 100%. There are many Cuban Americans that want to go back and help rebuild, reconstitute that island and put it into something of a great status, because these people have love and support for where they were born and where they were exiled from. So I have a great respect for those Cuban Americans who came over here, started businesses, who left something, and that want to go back in some way. But Venezuela, as saying, Tom, has a greater upside of making it a 51st state, not annexing it because of the wealth, the gold, the oil, and everything that it could possibly generate for America and for South America in some way. Especially, we have control over it. The question is, how many more people do you want to bring into this country as a 51st state? I think that talking point narrative, it gets misleading. Is it going to be different from Puerto Rico? Okay, think about what Puerto Rico is. Okay, and then you compare it to Venezuela or Cuba, or what's going to happen with Mexico. I mean, Shinebox is basically, she's drooling at the mouth because she doesn't know what to do. She's blowing bubbles out there. She's concerned. If we take over Cuba, look out, Mexico.
I want to get into this. You speak about left-wing media. We will get into left-wing media. Big shout-out to War Angel. Thomas, I took another job storm chasing for a dent repair company in Missouri, lurking much love. Moved to Florida. You moved to Missouri out of Florida? I'm sure it's a good state. I hope everything works out for you, War Angel. We love you over there, okay? Mediaite says, your legacy is already being destroyed. Alex Jones berates Trump over self-inflicted wounds. Let's take a listen to this. I have not heard it.
President Trump's coming to the defense of Mark Levin today on Truth Social is extremely troubling because of what he says there. First off, he implies that it's these evil, terrible people that aren't MAGA that are attacking him and that Trump's coming to his aid. Mark Levin, Ben Shapiro, and others have been all over the conservative circuit, CPAC, their own shows, TPUSA, saying Tucker Carlson is non-MAGA, Alex Jones is non-MAGA, and listing other people that are supposed to be excommunicated. Well, let's just get one thing straight here. I was around a lot longer than Trump politically, and I've never been MAGA. I'm 1776. I've supported the aims of Make America Great Again so far, but now those definitions are changing. But what Trump's really doing here is attacking his critics. He doesn't want to say, don't attack me in the Iran war. He wants to say, leave Mark Levin alone. He's the litmus test when he's calling for censorship and all the rest of it of people like Tucker Carlson and myself, or I will say that you're not part of our movement. Well, Trump, you don't have to worry about that. People are already very upset with you and already basically understanding that your legacy is being destroyed by you breaking your promise about this war.
Pause right there. I don't know if I feel that Tucker Carlson likes Alex Jones hitching his wagon to Tucker Carlson. I was never part of MAGA. I'm 1776. I've praised President Trump a couple times, but I've never been MAGA. And we talked about this a few weeks ago about clickbaiting. If you guys go back a couple episodes, you'll hear us talking about clickbaiters out there, Stu Peters and Mr. Alex Jones. Really just trying to shoehorn his way into the talking points. He's kind of not relevant. Neither is Stu Peters, by the way. Tucker Carlson, very relevant. So when you have someone that's not relevant trying to hitch their wagon to someone who is pulling in 7 million views per episode, I would be wary of that. I'm going to just quickly with that, Brett, what do you think about those talking points right there before we continue with this video?
Well, he's trying to move the narrative away from MAGA and to what do you call it? Now I'm 1776. You were for Trump and not Trump. And then he's trying to hedge his bets about trying to get involved in the fight with Megyn Kelly and micro penis Mark Levin, which I think it's hilarious in some way. I also think in some way President Trump is where a lot of people said that Mark Levin went back to President Trump, and he highlighted that for support in some way to push back against the agitprop propagandist. But Mark Levin is an agitprop propagandist, and he does that for Israel. He's a dual citizen. And so the way he acts and activates from President Trump is just putting him on blast and throwing him out there to the wolves and saying, hey, look, if you go after Mark Levin, all right, then you're not MAGA in some way. And so I noticed that this guy, Alex Jones, is whoever's playing this guy, Alex Jones, is not the original guy, Alex Jones, is saying, no, it's 1776. It's not MAGA anymore. Right. I'm not America First in some way. They're just moving the goalpost to another narrative, another shift, another paradigm. But as for everything right now that you're seeing, again, is the continuation of the perception management to strategically move the counter views and the reputational, let's just say, narratives off of certain people onto other people. Like you and I like Tucker Carlson, and I'm not going to be ashamed of liking Tucker Carlson. Right. Until you could prove to me Tucker Carlson has done something illegal where he could be arrested and fined. If you actually believe that he's going to be arrested for FAR, you're fucking crazy. Out of all of them, Tucker Carlson is the only one I think that I can trust out of all of them. Okay? And Megyn Kelly, she plays both sides. All these people play both sides. Dave Smith, all these people. You know, this guy, he's the quintessential productionist, the theatrical performative artist on there. He actually has no viewpoints. He does. Whoever this guy is now that replaced the old Alex Jones, his attitude today was perfectly timed to spuriously attack the administration when Iran was hit. The question is, who is paying him? Okay, there's no longer the info wars anymore. So where is he getting his lot of money? And that's how you can attribute to all the other clickbaiters out there in some way that are just advancing the agitprop nonsense.
And a lot of the other things you've done, like no real prosecutions of the deep state. So if you want to continue to self-inflict wounds on your own name and own political dynasty, I'm sad about that, but that's your life. You can do it. We're going to stay true to our populist, conservative, nationalist, Christian ideas that you wrote in on, but that we launched. I've been promoting these issues for 30 plus years. Mark Levin, Ben Shapiro, and all your darlings were never Trumpers and attacked you. And I've seen Lindsey Graham, say, screw Donald Trump. Donald Trump can go to hell. But that's who you've chosen now, and their worldview more and more. You're ignoring Kennedy, saying we're going to give glyphosate, protection, Roundup, and so many other things you're starting to break with why we voted for you. Now, still, you're better than the Democrats. So I don't hate you. I still promote the good things you do. But when you say, hey, if you criticize Mark Levin, that's a litmus test. You're by the wayside. You're a failure. You're in the dustbin of history. That's the neocon talking point of Mark Levin and Ben Shapiro. They're the ones that have almost no viewers or listeners anymore. They're the ones that are incredibly unpopular. And if you think taking on their political views is the right thing to do or is going to help you, then we can't stop you. But I've seen Mark Levin say a few months ago, people like Tucker Carlson, the rest of you think you're going to stop us with your little podcast? We'll do anything it takes to blah, blah, blah. It's open threats. Now you have the head of the ADL a few days ago literally, we'll play it in a moment coming up here on my syndicated show. I'm also posting this clip to X. I'll post that clip under it. Greenblatt came out and said, you saw the great genius of us with the pagers and all the other operations killing our enemies. We need to do that in America in our 8-front war. So it's not just censorship and debanking and the ADL having meetings saying arrest me years ago. Now, let's have criminal referrals for Tucker Carlson, claiming because he's talking to Iranians during a war, which is a journalist's job, he's working for a foreign country, which they say is illegal. Well, Tucker isn't working for a foreign country, but you represent a foreign country, Israel. You have members of Congress wearing IDF uniforms during their votes. I mean, it's being flaunted. And so By attacking anybody as anti-Semitic that disagrees with total war with Iran, you guys have set the parameters now to basically define it as that. And you're only kind of conjuring the monster you claim that you fear. But the truth is, the head of the ADL also said in the same speech, we've never had more business. We've never had more support from the Jewish community. Yeah, because the policies of Netanyahu and others are incredibly unpopular and are creating a backlash. Then you call everybody anti-Semites, and now you've defined this new huge enemy you have, so you get more power, more control, more funds, and get to play victim more. Just like Mark Levin running to Trump with Sean Hannity. Oh, they're being mean to me. Oh, they're saying bad things. Myself, Tucker Carlson, we're not saying anything bad about you, other than the fact that you're trying to censor and control people and then run and play victim. And now you've called on your daddy Trump to come and say, ooh, you won't be in the cool kids anymore. You won't be able to sit at the cool table at lunch, in junior high if you're not cool. Well, here's a newsflash. When I was in junior high, I was dating the high school girls. When I was in high school, I was dating college.
Okay, we're good. The guy's a straight. I mean, I've known him for a while. He's a straight narcissist. If anything. Mark Levin, I can't stand him. I totally understand. All this infighting isn't helping the cause. I totally understand that. Who's playing him exactly, Thomas? He's not relevant anymore. It's all true. He was ahead of the game, and now he's just really fallen off. And it, frankly, is really boring. I wish he was still drinking all the time and killing himself. That was cool. Go ahead.
Oh, you're asking me?
Yeah, I mean, like, do you?
I
don't even care what he's really saying, to be honest.
Well, I mean, in order to be relevant, you have to add value to the relevancy. So if the value is not there, then you're not relevant anymore. So you have to consider, what is his value? What is his worth at this moment?
I don't know.
And a lot of exactly,
really.
and then you can actually utilize that type of metric for a lot of different other type of people out there in some way. If they're not providing value as a metric to what they're espousing, then the relevance just dissipates. And I think that he's reached his pinnacle of relevancy. It's also, in some way, there are a lot of people who don't choose to be relevant. They just choose to speak their mind and have a thought and not want to socially climb the clickbait ladder in some way. And I think that when you try to add that type of discussion to your, let's just say, whatever relevance you think you may or may not have, and you put yourself in those types of boxes like Megyn Kelly or this guy or Tucker Carlson or Dave Smith or any of these other people, whatever, in some way, then all you're doing is decreasing your value, all right? Because you're comparing yourself to something that you're not, all right? And I think that's the problem. A lot of people face these days, whether it's on X and all these other things, they're facing a huge backlash because they think their relevance matters and their importance of being relevant carries weight. But the problem is they undercut the narrative with their subversive tactics, and they don't really see into the future of how that protracted conversation will undercut them. They're not based in the moment. They don't have a factual discussion to say right now. They're reactionary to how they see things. And that, at that moment, changes their paradigm and their structure of their modus operandi. And it gets exposed more and more. The one thing I do like about Tucker, and I know you're attacked from it, I'm attacked from it and stuff, and I don't give a fuck about all you other people over here that think otherwise. The one thing I do like about Tucker is that, all right, until you could prove all these other parameters, that the CIA is going to send some type of legal brief to have the DOJ indict him for something like that, and then accuse him of all these things, then show me. If not, then shut the fuck up. The other thing is, in some way, I like the fact is that he has a wide parameter of having open discussions about everything. He's not just focused on one thing. He doesn't billy goat the same narrative over and over and over again and just tries to war drum your head or drumhead you into this. He gives you a perspective, which I do enjoy, this guy right here and stuff, I don't know who's playing him anymore, is not the same Alex Jones that was on InfoWars 20 years ago. And ultimately right now that we're sucked into is that we're starting to see the levees break with a lot of different influencers or people who have been around the corner for a long time, who are just speaking gibberish, and they don't even have a point anymore. No one's telling you have to back the play of the president. No one's telling you have to. We discussed it on Sunday on my show, and you were here, Tom, about all these categories. They want to fill you in. If you're not this, you're not that. You're not this, you're not that. And I say, do yourself a favor. Don't be a part of any of them. Okay? Critically think about how you feel and make sure that that thought of action is persuasive enough and pervasive enough that you can move through all the timelines of all this bullshit. Because that's the problem we all face. And they all want to boot you in one thing. I'm not a bootlicker, okay? I'm not a blind loyalist. I support President Trump, him, not the administration, but everything that he is doing and accomplishing. Do I like certain people in the administration actuating and doing things that are not backstabbing scumbags like, we saw Joe Kent was, and a lot of people are saying, oh, and you see all the recognized names to back Kent and say, yeah, you're a good guy and all this other stuff, but he was leaking. Remember like
He's
the first administration?
Jerry.
He's leaking. It's not like he's leaking in his pants, in his boxers. He's leaking classified information. He's leaking stuff that could get him into trouble. And President Trump was very mild-mannered and tempered with his response about all this stuff. And yet, again, no one... Where is Tulsi Gabbard? Why isn't she responding to questions about if you were told to be fired and stuff? I'll throw this out there. Do you trust Tulsi Gabbard?
Oh, yeah, I do.
Okay, so do I. I do. I think she's proved her thing, and I think in a lot of ways, a lot of people are not seeing all these counter narratives about its unfolding. All this stuff that is happening and stuff is like, people think like, oh, well, he's good. He supported the president and stuff. Yeah, but he was leaking. He was doing something counterproductive to the administration. Do you think Marco Rubio or Secretary of War would do those things and still be in those positions? No. Kristi Noem, here's a good example. Did Kristi Noem act in unison with the president, or did she take it up a little bit higher in some way and then back off because she said, well, I wasn't there, it wasn't this? What's your thoughts about her? Was she a leaker? Did she do anything wrong in some way? Or did she just get dealt a low blow because the pushback of Homeland Security, and they were spying on her, reading her emails and her text messages? So what's your thoughts about
She's gone
that?
for a reason.
Okay.
She's gone for a reason.
Okay.
I don't think President Trump came out and said anything wrong, did he? Or besmirching
About
of
what?
her?
No, he didn't. He defended her, actually moved her in another position, which might be even better for her with that Shield of America. That Shield of America sounds great. So she's going to be the female Captain America for the Shield of Americas.
I don't want to do that.
I'm being facetious in some way.
I know.
But, I mean,
Captain America
look,
is a man.
I know. Captain America's a man. I know. But the
multiverse
multiverse has her as a woman.
Yeah.
No, look, I get you what you're saying and stuff like that. I mean, the multiverse. That's the world we live in these days because everything is in the multiverse. Look, we go in and out of things that we just can't process and understand. We go in one day thinking this is going to be this, and we come out the other end on another day.
This is pretty interesting. Let me, and great points. I want to say this from... This is over on YouTube. Power Hitter Incorporated. I met Alex Jones at his 9/11 symposium in Los Angeles back in 2003. I reached out to shake his hand, and after he finished eating, and he physically recoiled away from me as if I was going to harm him. He responds, to me, that is not the same man that I met at that symposium. Interesting. So then somebody said he's a lizard. Linda says that. I mean, you guys can believe the guy just lost weight because he stopped boozing. That's all it is.
Or he took Ozempic.
Nah, he literally stopped drinking, I think.
Yeah.
Maybe I should do the same.
He was drunk on Tim Cass show. He was on Tim Cass recently, and he looked on.
Smokes.
Oh, he smokes. He smokes the herb. I got you.
Yeah, he doesn't booze.
Okay.
He literally was on Steven Crowder. Was like, I was going to die if I didn't. All right, we're gonna get a little weird. I don't think it's weird though, but some people out there may find this Power Hitter Incorporated referring back to you. You may recoil from this. I found this to be very interesting. I needed to hear this. I didn't need to hear it. I've been back for about 2 weeks where I need to be. Let's take a listen to this. I just want to shout out these gentlemen, Rambo, Dave New Trees, and Space Shot 76, friend of the show, Tron, Stormy Joe Patriot, and Belushi 117. Bringing all this into just showing you. If you've seen this, then you've seen this, but just letting you know. Here we go.
Stormy, I know that we have a limited amount of time with you. That was plenty of intro. I think everybody's pretty much piled in, although they're still coming. I would love to just set you free, brother. I'm looking forward to this because I don't have enough time in the day to catch up on everything. And
from what you just saw right now, has anyone in the chat seen this? Brett, have you seen this? Brett, have you seen this? Okay.
No, I have not. No, I was on mute. I'm sorry.
Has anybody in the chat seen this? This came out about 2-3 days ago. No. Hogleg. Yep, that was a great show. Good for you, Hogleg. Okay. No. All right. Well, we'll go ahead and continue with it. Take a listen to this. This is about Iran.
some of your digs are stuff I get really upset when I miss. So if you want to take over, brother, the floor is yours, sir.
Yeah, I think it's a really important dig. You know, it goes through even pre-Q all the way to current day, and it really ties in all the key players, a lot of key events, and it takes you right into today's news. So, you know, it's extremely important. And when you see all these things strung together, there's over a dozen Q proofs that all interlock, and they even swing back around and repeat. So it's pretty amazing. All right, so let me jump into it. All right, if you could throw that up. Okay, so we start with Q888, and it's going to come full circle. This is a March 8th Delta of 2018. Okay, and what's embedded in this particular Q post is a Donald Trump truth from November 14th, 2017. And he's thanking Asia like he went on an Asia trip. All right. And then it says, thank you, Kim Jong. Deal made. Clowns out. Strings cut. We took control and Iran's next. Okay. And here's the next key player in this whole story is Rocket Man Musk. Now, prior to the Q drops, in February of 2017, he put out a book called Rocket Man, okay? Now, prior to the Q drops, Donald Trump was on this mad freaking Twitter blast about Kim Jong, and he was calling him Little Rocket Man. Now, just to tell you my own personal experience, I voted for Donald Trump. I liked him and everything, but, you know, this was prior to the Q drops. I was pretty much in normie world. And he's going off with Kim Jong, calling him Rocket Man. They both got their finger on the button. It was like crazy world, right? We didn't know what was going on. Okay. Now the Q drops start shortly after this back and forth. So he's in September and October of 2017 going on this crazy blast with Little Rocket Man. And we don't really know what's going on. But in between Donald Trump's post, the Q operation starts, and Q kind of plays this game where Q is trying to tell us that Elon Musk behind the scenes is really helping with North Korea and the SpaceX technology. and all these types of things. Now, you're going to have to use your own discernment and try to figure that out as we go, but I'm just trying to tell you the backdrop. So Anons are putting it together. He's calling Kim Jong Rocket Man. Meanwhile, Musk has a book out called Rocket Man. So Anons are like, holy shit, the president's tweets are really connecting Kim Jong and Elon Musk, and Q confirms it. Do you believe in coincidences? Okay. Now, the funny thing was, I was going to put this slide in when I did this presentation, and what the picture is he acquires Twitter, but 2 days before he walks in the door, he shows up early, and he's carrying the sink in. Okay. And he surprises the Twitter team, and he ends up letting go like 30 or 40% of the team. But the funny thing is, I went to go grab this slide and put in his picture, and he retweeted it yesterday, like when I was putting the deck together. So that was pretty freaking wild. And not only did he retweet the picture, but Kim Sachs found that it hits a delta. So this is him on March 10th retweeting the picture of him walking into Twitter 2 days ahead of schedule with the sink. But not only that, is he's hitting 4 to 6%. So here's the cue with let that sink in. But yesterday in March 11th, Delta with the 4 to 6% right here. So got the 4 to 6%, March 10th, March 11th, 4 to 6%. Let the sink in, let the sink in. Okay. These are all comms showing you that Musk is part of the show. All right.
It's so funny. When I hit the first time, I laughed for like an hour. Let that sink in. Good.
All right. I'm not going to play the interview, but Donald Trump was asked, this is like leading up to the election, about Elon Musk. And he says he's a patriot. But here's the thing. Twitter is the most important platform in the world as far as social media goes. They say it can swing elections 17% or more. So, you know, and you have to come to the realization Donald Trump just didn't give this guy the authority to build on his federal sites and put stuff in space and have the the technology without having control of Elon Musk. You know, you can say he was a bad guy that we flipped, or you can say he was always a good guy, or you can say that that's not even the same Elon Musk walking around anymore. I'm not even sure which one of the three it is. All I know is whoever that is now is full control. So he buys the Twitter. After that walk, let the sink in 2 days later, on October 28th, 2022, he acquires Twitter on an exact 5-year delta of the Q operation. That's not a coincidence. Okay. The same interview that he was asking about Musk, he gets asked about Kim Jong, and he says, he's a great guy too, whatever. But this leads you back to the original Q drops, where, like, as that whole moment was going back and forth with Kim with his finger on the button, but Q puts up that picture with Donald Trump's Air Force One. Anand starts to say, oh my God, did these guys meet? What's going on here? So Anand says, oh my God, here we go. North Korea, there's going to be a meeting with 45. So they start talking about the upcoming summit that there's a rumor about. But Q886 says, actually, we already did meet. Think back, we gave you the signal with that picture of Air Force One. Everything has meaning. This is going to break the MSN. So this is so huge, because this is actually a template that I've used over and over and over again. Nothing is what it seems. Q gave us the playbook right here. Okay.
So you have to think right there, Brad, which is crazy, is that back then, people, right when the Q thing started, people had no idea about it. This is like post like 100 or like 50 or something like that. That people aren't even like really into this right now at all. And just going back, just so I know what the post was right there. 886 Anons are out there. This is in 2018. Okay, so people were in it. But again, they're referring back on post 886 saying that, okay, here we go, Anons. Wow, huge. North Korea is going to meet with 45 MAGA. Q repost. Well, we already did meet. Think back to those North Korean pics. This is going to lead into Iran.
But Q886 says, actually, we already did meet. Think back, we gave you the signal with that picture of Air Force One.
What's that?
Do you want a response, or are you going to play this? Continue playing this?
Yeah, you could give me a response if you want to.
Oh, I didn't know if you were playing this.
I'm not
it was
playing
dead
the
silence.
entire thing. It's about
it was
it's a
dead
10-minute
silence, so
segment.
I don't want to
it's
interrupt.
a 10-minute segment.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Well, here's the thing. Let's just put it this way. What if Elon Musk is Q? How about that? Okay.
Well, that's what he's
and there
saying.
you go. Yeah, and it basically is now moving in that direction. He's always been Q, and then he's brought into the fold. And when he says he has everything, is that whatever technology that has been put in place, Starlink or what have you, has able to access and undercut, interdict, enmesh itself into everything, web it all in. And so, and this was kept hidden for a long time, and now that sort of the whole juxtaposition about Elon and the administration and all this stuff was put out there as a firefight, was all because of Doge and behind the scenes that they brought people in and they let it out. I mean, yeah, and the Kim Jong-un and Jong-un scenario and stuff like that was already settled noise and stuff. Again, that's what I was trying to say earlier. If the Post is saying and what they're saying is stuff, that was already done before it even happened. That's what I'm trying to talk about the Iran war. How do you process that in this manner? As it's happened or it's happening? So what I'm trying to say is if that already happened, then what are we seeing now?
We're going to get to that. They're going to get into it.
Yeah, I know. Are we seeing the actual, let's just say, beginning or the end of it before it even started? That's the question I was posing earlier. Trump once saw that, and I was trying to say, which middle of the road are we in this scenario?
Hogleg says...
All right, I got to let my dog out.
Okay. Hogleg says... Was it Hogleg? Yeah. Go back and watch Rambo talk about cicada. It blew my mind. Yeah, dude, I was talking about that in 2017. On this channel. You can, on the YouTube channel, go back. You can watch it. Cicada, what is it, 3301 or something like that? Yeah, you go back and watch it. I think that was debunked. Yeah. But if you want to go back and watch it, you can watch. I mean, yeah, that was what? 10 years ago? I was talking about cicada. Yeah, I remember them.
One, everything has meaning. This is going to break the MSN.
Not to be a hipster.
So this is so huge because this is actually a template that I've used over and over and over again. Nothing is what it seems. Q gave us the playbook right here. Okay. And, you know, they have the summit, and he's asked about President Z in this meeting too, this interview. And also he says he's a great guy, friends. We had a great meeting, the Forbidden City and all that. And this comes back around later as we go. Okay. So now we have the summit. This is June 12th, 2018. And here's the March 8th information right here that the Q was kicked off about because it gets kind of announced that the summit's coming. Okay. But the summit is right here, Trump and Kim Jong on June 12th. Now, remember what Q said. Here comes the first Q proof. Q said on March 8th to look for, once we have the deal with Kim, that it becomes public. In other words, we already had the deal in place. But once we have deal with Kim public, we're going to go into Iran next. Okay. So the summit was on the 12th, and now that this report came out on the 13th, but he's at the summit, and Donald Trump says he hopes to negotiate a real deal with Iran right after the summit with Kim. So that's the Q proof that Q was telling us to look for. As soon as we finish with Kim, we're going to go to Iran next. And that's exactly what happens. So Q told us that in March on the left side of the screen, and then it happens in June on the right side of the screen. That's what a military operation looks like. This isn't moves and counter moves and, oh my God, you know, he really had his finger on the button. This is all planned years in advance military operation. Okay, that's a Q proof right there. Okay. Now we're into 2025. June of 2025, the Absolute Storm team started to pick up signals about what ends up to be Operation Hammer ahead of time. Okay. So one of the signals we got was from JD Vance. Some rumors were going around that something's going on with Iran, but this was a flat out Delta hit where Vance is taking Trump's Truth Social post, putting it on Twitter, and here's the big meeting with POTUS on the exact Delta, and there's the Iran developments. Okay, and Iran is starting to get on high alert. Okay, and I'm like, escalation coming, Iran next. Okay, then we get another signal from Trump on June 11th, and he's talking about, China's done, and then we got the timestamp hitting deal done. So again, this is the Q operation letting us know our playbook's the same. The deal's already done, guys. Whatever you're going to see in the news coming up, it's all optics. It's the playbook coming back around again. But this one was so crystal clear, and it's actually kind of made me laugh when it happened. So on June 11th, Donald Trump is walking in to the Kennedy Center to go see Lee Miz, okay? And he's all in his tux on the red carpet, and he's going to sit like behind the orchestra to see Lee Miz. On the exact Delta, he gets asked on that runway, what's going on with Iran? And he says, hey, man, I gave them 60 days. They can't have nukes. No way. That's what he says. On the exact Delta, June 11th, you go to Q 1454, Iran deal orchestrated. And then it says nothing to do with nukes. That's all covered. He's going to see Lee Miz to sit behind the orchestra, and he says they can't have nukes. No way. The day.
Nothing to do with nukes is a cover. Iran deal is already orchestrated back in 2018. So what Stormy Patriot Joe is saying, like, with these posts are all, it's like we're the Q timeline from those posts is on 2018. So that's 8 years in advance, or 8 years too late. But now it's would be 8 years in advance, because all these things had taken place, and now we're seeing them now, which is insane. So Iran.
What he's saying is that we were able to see all these things play out at a future timeline
that were behind the scenes that no one knew about,
because we have technology to peer into the future, and then we were recording this, and then we were piercing this out, simultaneously slicing this up, and then putting this up in these type of dimensional type of confluences that people would see when they unfold at the time, but not at the time that it was showing. So they were relatively nestled in for it to be unraveled as a puzzle in some way during that 8 year timeline. I understand that. I mean, yeah. I get.
I wasn't telling you. I was just telling the,
Well, no, I mean, if you don't believe we'd have technology, I believe we have two technologies that are hidden from us. Number one, we could see into the future. I do believe so. And we also have portals, time portals that we can jump into. And I absolutely believe in that 100%. I believe we can jump into portals, and where those portals go and how they actuate. Those are the two things I do believe that we have. I mean, and they're never going to tell you that. Never going to happen. Never going to happen. I mean, but yet we were flying on tin can, beer can, fucking airplanes on 19th and 20th century technology with airplanes and oil and gas. And all we're doing is what? Continue on with the relative redux, moving through while we implement 21st century technology to help supplant and undercut and move away from. I mean, that's what we're doing at the FAA, at Department of Transportation. We're increasing our satellite and our GPS and all this other things. But we have been living, Tom, for so long between 19th and 20th technology that the breakthrough of the slow ease behind the scenes is the AI is now real, and it's going to change everything in general. I just think in some way there's not a lot of people going to be catching up, and I think that the problem that we see right now
for everybody else. This is for the community that is watching right now.
But why can't it be for everybody else? Why can't people want to be a part of something like this? It shouldn't have to be
I
hidden
don't think
in
that
some way.
they're smart enough to.
So you're saying there's only a group of people, let's
Selected.
just say, divested, selective, that are invested, that want to partake in it, and everybody else is just, they want to go on spring break on the beach at Daytona and be
NPCs.
sunbathers. Yeah. I know the normies and NPCs are. Yes. So are we the 4 to 6%?
They choose it.
Are we the 4 to 6%?
That's a very interesting question.
Because I would say that we might be the 4 to 6%, and the other 10 to 20% are the ones that are going to be, they're going to be gone. They're going to be mentally blown away. They're not going to be handling anything. Maybe they're the people that took the vax. It's a lot bigger than we think. But what I'm saying is, we have to consider that, a lot of this stuff, that how we talk about how we use it, I don't use it contextually in my discussions because I'm not one of these Q decoder people, so to speak. I was never that person in some way. I'm strictly a political animal, and I see things differently on how I perceive. I actually prescribe and perceive things in a multifaceted way. I don't pretend like I know exactly how they come up with where they're connecting all this stuff, but I would say
doing it with dates. Which is very interesting. And then what he's wearing, he's at the orchestra. Iran deal orchestrated, nothing to do with nukes cover. We're getting into you would have to watch this twice, this is my third time watching it, so that I wouldn't be, I will be able to explain what we're looking at, which, again, this is about 10 minutes up, we're about 3 or 4 minutes in. Not much more, but it's very interesting where it leads.
Before. And this is right before his 60-day deadline runs out.
What the?
So then the people that were like in the weeds with all this and not understanding these comms and communication, Israel hits first, and everybody's like, oh shit, Israel jumped in front of Trump. What's going on here? What's going on? Meanwhile, he says flat out, I gave them the 60 days. They didn't meet it. Today's day 61. So of course, and by the way, we helped Israel with intelligence, and it was a coordinated effort that later our administration admits to. But this is June 13th, 2025. Does that ring a bell? It should. Check this out. This is the mind blower. On the left side of the screen was the original Q proof of the 2018 summit. June 13th, 2018. We started the operation for Operation Hammer, Midnight Hammer, June 13th, 2025, an exact 7-year to the day Delta. All right. I got a lot.
He suffers from autism. I don't suffer. I just have it.
This is Joe. This is all just coincidence. Let's put that disclaimer in. This is all coincidence.
I mean, are you sure Trump's not just shooting from the hip? Because some people think that.
But meanwhile, because people don't follow this stuff like we do, and Abs and I are getting like attacked on Twitter, and even during our show comments are, oh, Trump's getting puppeted by Israel. Like, what are you talking about? He told you the timeline, and it ended. And the night before, he said, we're going to take care of business. And he's retweeting this Israel submitted a video time and time again for years. And then he says, hey, I always knew the date of the attack. I told you guys.
See, that's crazy. So on the right, Trump tells the Post, I always knew the date of the Israeli attack on Iran. So everyone out there that thinks that, and I needed to see this too, because there's a time where we all kind of go with ebbs and flows with this, where you think that, is Israel towing the line? And, that's being spread everywhere. It's all over Reddit. Guess what? Those are left-wing hacks saying this shit. And what Brett said earlier is that you're seeing people being boxed into places where if you're not on board, you're out. And that is truly happening. But when you see this, that Trump tells the Post, this is what's so good. June 13th, you're seeing all this align Trump tells the Post, I always knew the date for Israel to attack on Iran. That tells me that Trump is over Israel in a authoritarian sense.
He preempted a nuclear attack. I think
he did.
I've said that 2 weeks ago. I said that on my show before all this other stuff came out. Go back and watch it. I talked about that he preempted them from, and look, he admitted just recently that they have nuclear weapons. I mean, we all knew they would. I mean, that's the summer of all fears. That's all Red October bullshit. But my point is, he preempted them from hitting them, whether they were going to drop a bunch of tactical nukes or go fucking full blast and kill a lot of people. He made sure that Israel was cock-blocked. Now, whatever happened to Bibi and all these other fucking scumbags in Israel, per se, that were willing to murder all these people and stuff in this manner because their bloodlust is no different from Lindsey Graham, Mark Levin, and many other people. I don't know.
That's on them.
Yeah, that's the point. But realistically, did he prevent World War III? I think so.
Yeah.
I think he prevented it.
Yes.
He didn't start it. He prevented it. And I don't think we're really going to understand this. The normie NPC, I get it. They're not going to know this. But that's why everybody's jumping ship. The libertarians, the Democrats. It wasn't about nukes. They didn't have nukes. No, it wasn't about Iran having nukes. It was about Iran being attacked by nukes.
Continue.
Okay. Now, this is just mind-blowing. So now it's June 15th. On the left is a Donald Trump Truth Social post about what's going on with the Midnight Hammer. Okay. And he says, fight, fight, fight. So in the red box for almost the near delta, June 19th, Q1558 is the fight, fight, fight. That same day, we're propping up people with knowledge around what's going on with Iran. The Iran regime is weaker ever before. It's time for regime change. This is the same day. All in yellow. Free Iran, regime change, power to the people. We stand with you. Everything on your screen is showing you an exact military plan, years in advance, getting executed to the day, to the second. Red, fight, fight, fight. Yellow, all everything that Fox News is talking about that day. Clear? All right. So he pumped that out at 12:44. Now, baked at the Q 12:44. I'm not going to get too deep into it, but it was another situation where we freed Armenia. Okay. And then it says on the bottom here, like North Korea, these people need to be freed too. And the next Q is 12:45. And this is so important because it says, here's the order. We're going to free Saudi Arabia, then North Korea, then Armenia, then Iran. So everything this thing was talking about bangs right off of his post that I just told you he was announcing about Midnight Hammer and everything like that. 12:44. This is the stepping stones to these two Qs. And here's the timeline right here. So nothing that happened with Midnight Hammer was a surprise to the absolute storm team. I can tell you that. All right. So now we're into this year. Okay. Leading up to the State of the Union address, we started to pick up some comms. Trump was saying consequential a bunch and things like that. Okay. And the consequential in the Q drops, there's a bundle of Qs from 499 to 511. Those bundle of Qs are all, there's about 6 or 7 Q proofs that are all tied together. And one of them is Fire and Fury. So we were pointing out consequential. And then the next day, POTUS said it 7 times in 59 seconds. He said it 7 times in 59 seconds. So we're like, he must really want us to know this. So we put it up on the show. And we showed Fire and Fury on February 19th. And in that time frame, injected into the news cycle was Bannon and the Epstein files. So I went back and I was showing the Q proof of Fire and Fury. So I'll do it quick, but Fire and Fury was a book by Michael Wolff. Steve Bannon helped out with it. These are the chapters 1 through 22, and they talk all about Bannon.
Watch this, guys. This is crazy.
and everything like that. But there's two chapters 6 and 10 at home in Goldman. In the table of contents, they're spelled correctly, but when you went to the actual chapters, they changed the O's for Q's in both of these two chapters, 6 and 10. You could buy this book today and flip to these chapters, and this is what it would look like. So
In Michael Wolff's book? That's crazy.
Bro, that is insane.
Yep.
And Q let us know right here, 2 chapters with Q's. Coincidence? No. And it's also big because, just real quick, you know, at the time, it was like sloppy Steve. Steve turned on Trump, all this crap. No, he didn't. This is all show. And Q is showing you, once you learn the comms and you understand that, of course, it's all part of the show. He ends up doing a pardon with Steve Bannon and all that. But we were on to Fire and Fury before the operation came out. So now we're heading towards the State of the Union. And as you saw, the Q's, O's returned to Q's, O's returned to Q's, O's returned to Q's. So now we're heading towards the State of the Union. And we already had, so this O to Q was in January of 2018. Q gave us another one at the end of 2018 with the stockings, where they turned O's into Q's in the stockings. So we were looking for O's turned to Q's for the State of the Union address. Enoch was the first person I saw that grabbed the truth banner. Of course, State of the Union. They turned the O into a Q. So we got the hit that something was getting connected for the State of the Union. And we were on this back to the 17th. Part of what we were connecting on Absolute Storm was the old State of the Union from 2018 that talked about, at some point, we're going to give you an activation code. So we're like theorizing, because we saw, like, you watch the news and you see all these ships surrounding Iran, and we're sending like the heaviest military force in the world surrounding Iran. Meanwhile, we're kind of getting some of these clues that there's a possibility of an activation at the State of the Union. Okay. And now before the state, and this is what we were pointing to 2 weeks out. State of the Union, the day of the State of the Union is on the 24th. As he's getting into the beast, he pumps out on his 88022 Twitter handle, or text messaging platform, Trump does. He makes a spelling mistake. Instead of motorcade, he says, I'm on the way to the State of the Union in my motor code. So he's hitting code right there. So we're like, oh shit, we're on it, man. There's something going on.
You know, Joe, I reactivated those text messages because of that catch.
Yep, you should.
By the way, Joe, real quick, I don't want to interrupt you too quickly, but there's also one addition that Enoch had to that O and the Q, because a lot of people are like, oh, you guys are dumb. That's a script O. It's supposed to look like a Q. But people also picked up on the fact that if you right-clicked on that SOTU image, it had a date. It had February 24th as a date, and then a stringer of digits in the file name, and the stringer of digits added up to 17. So if you thought the O was stretchy, they put the 17 in there just to double confirm it.
Awesome. Yeah. Okay. So now it's the day of the State of the Union, and Abs and I are talking about what possible activation codes could we look for. And Ab says maybe they'll say green, like. And now look at the news today, and you'll get to it. That's why I said some of this stuff will tie in, so Ab said like Captain Green, because it's in the Qs, that's a go order in the Qs, that green means go. Okay. But at the State of the Union, what happens? The big viral moment is Al Green with his stupid banner, and he ends up getting tossed from the State of the Union. So we took that as another possible confirm towards the activation code. And Dan was tweeting before the State of the Union, and he says, take a guess how long the State of the Union will be. And he even put 3 pluses on the last things, but it was a focus for Anons to pick up on. Hey, pay attention to how long the State of the Union is. Timing is everything. Crazy. And again, I was hitting look for the activation code. And then the State of the Union ends up to be exactly 107 minutes. And Q 107 bangs right off of what we were looking for. So the Q starts exactly with the word code. And then it says, may God grant all the wisdom to what concrete steps we can take to reduce what? The violence and weaponry. So it's hitting not only code, but violence and weaponry, what we're about to do in Iran. And the go orders right there. That's what we were looking for. Go orders. And then pray. We end up tying that back in later. So the speech was 107 minutes, Q 107, code, violence, weaponry, go order, pray, Q. It's all right there. Now, there, like what I mentioned with Abs when he took the shot, that there'll be something with Captain Green. This is the Captain Green Q proof from way back in 2017. And just like Gizmo saw us hitting Q 107, so he figured, or Gizmo figured to put up the original Q proof, and it ties back in. Okay, so how this went was Q gave us the Captain Green go order right here with this military thread. And actually Barack Obama tweets out right here this paragraph. Q grabs that paragraph and puts it right here, which I just read about the violence and weaponry. And there's the go order for Captain Green. And Q is saying, pay attention to the timing of when this tweet went live. And Obama's tweet went live at 7:51. Q 751 is everything that we're seeing back then and now. Okay, so Q 751 opens up with Operation Merlin, and Operation Merlin is all about the Clinton administration giving nukes and giving a pathway to nukes for Iran. That's what the Operation Merlin's all about. Then it goes Iran, we're going to get into North Korea, funding, Iran, North Korea, terror cells. Is that in the news today? Yes. Payoffs, nuke deal, war engine protection. Everything in the news right now is all in 751, and Q told us to look for it. So the speech hit this Q 107. We got the activation order. It went green, and everything in this queue from this timestamp of Obama's timestamp hits everything that we're in the news right now. Okay. So now we also took a guess that the go order could have been Ronald McDonald, and Trump brought the U.S. hockey team to the State of the Union address, and we didn't get a Ronald McDonald at the State of the Union. But the next morning, he brings the U.S. hockey team that was the front and center of the State of the Union address, and he feeds them McDonald's. So we ended up getting the Ronald McDonald tie-in the next morning. So that was kind of fun. All right. So now it's the day after the State of the Union, and we're looking for confirmation of all those go orders and activations and Ronald McDonald and Captain Green and all those to connect. So now we're trying to say, okay, are we operational? And Gizmo says, okay, they're praying in the cabinet at 11:05. That you take that timestamp, you make it a date, and that hits Q 104, and we're looking for something with operational now and pray. So Q 107 ended up with pray. Now it's time to pray. We are operational. God bless America. So we're like, oh shoot. Now I'm personally looking for a direct hit to activation. And at the State of the Union address,
look at this.
Warlike Speaker Johnson made a big thing that he was bringing George Washington's gavel to the State of the Union address. All right, so the first image we ever got was George Washington crossing the Delaware. So we're like, okay, he's bringing this gavel out. We better pay attention. So again, this is the next day after the State of the Union. I'm looking for a personal confirmation that we're on the right track with the Absolute Storm team tracking all these activations. He pumps out about the Washington gavel that it was first used 233 years ago. Q 233 directly says start _code _activation /instruction. Freaking boom. Guess what?
Wow.
Joe, did you happen to see at the same time that you were doing that green stuff, that the mask dig we did?
I saw some of it. Okay. Yeah, so now Donald Trump hits Twitter or Truth Social 2:30 in the morning and announces Operation Epic Fury. Okay. So if you weren't paying attention, here's a quick recap. Absolute Storm team on the left was picking up comms prior to the State of the Union address, talking about fire and fury. It's probably going to come down the pipe and have a reason. And guess what? The operation, we didn't know what it was going to be called, but now we do. Epic Fury. Fire and fury, epic fury.
And the bottom of that drop says non-nuclear, and the entire operation is about denuclearizing Iran.
Rambo, you and I talked about this one. The Trump Watch was getting posted on Fox and other channels at this time as well. And I posted about it in February 19th about, check it out. He's got the Mickey hands, but all the watches are pretty much set to the Mickey hands. So that's not as big of a thing. The 45 through 47 was always interesting. But now that you can look back on it, you got the date stamped sitting there right there on the 28th. And this operation goes live on the 28th.
Wild.
And then that whole group of Qs that I talked about from 499 to 511, the next day, right here in Tampa, Central Command, their jet is 503. And that Q503 is talking about what we were pointing to with the Qs in this sequence of consequential, fire and fury. This Q is banging off both of those. Okay. Now I'm just trying to show people that if you really read the Qs from way back when, you shouldn't be surprised. Okay. It's all about freeing Iran, giving power back to the people. Good people of Iran will have the power. You have MAGA, make Iran great again, all these types of things. So we weren't surprised. This was pretty wild. I took a shot on this and it hit. I showed you Donald Trump walked up to Truth Social at 2:30 in the morning and talked about Operation Hammer. Epic. We're on Epic Fury now. So Epic Fury, the White House posted it at 2:57, and they didn't retweet it. They made a brand new post at 7:04. So I was like, well, for the heck of it, let me run the Delta, and that's 247 minutes apart. Q247 talking about Hussein in Iran and bombs away. All right, can't make it up. All right, Donald Trump pumps out on the 28th at 4 Epic Fury now. So Epic Fury.
You can see post 247, Hussein, Iran connection, bombs away, Merry Christmas. What did we just talk about today? What did President Trump say today? What did he say? He was talking about somebody should look into Barack Obama paying off terrorists. That's exactly what we talked about today, and that is in that post. How did they know about that? All the way back in 2017. And what I posted was, I'm telling you, we are living in 2017, 2018 of that timeline of this military operation in 2026.
The White House posted it at 2:57, and they didn't retweet it.
Imagine that.
They made a brand new post at 7:04. So I was like, well, for the heck of it, let me run the Delta, and that's 247 minutes apart. Q247 talking about Hussein in Iran and bombs away. All right, can't make it up. All right, Donald Trump pumps out on the 28th at 4:37, all about this whole Iran situation. Now, this ties into back to Musk and Kim Jong, why we started with the Rocket Man stuff, because you're going to start to see a little more of it swerve in. Q47, Iran nuke deal, North Korea, think about their technology, SpaceX. Okay, what happened with NASA's technology? Okay, and it goes on from there. But this is what Donald Trump is having us kind of connect the dots with. Now, SpaceX technology is very, very unique. When they're showing you right now on your TV screen what's going on with these missiles and such, guess what it is? That's SpaceX technology right there, folks.
Yes, it is.
That's unmistakable SpaceX technology. So when Q was talking about Musk, at the time, it was like, oh, okay, he's setting up this clown operation in North Korea. And if Hillary becomes president, their 16-year plan was they were going to have North Korea start World War III. Okay. But we jumped in, clowns out, we cut the strings, we took control. Okay. So now we're using it all back on their ass. You see that? Okay. Now this, eyes in the sky, March 6th. Central Command, March 6th, eyes in the sky. Department of War, March 6th, owning the skies. And then here's the North Korea tie-in. That Q, that same Q, I just read it, March 6th, is showing you it's all connected. There's Kim Jong right there. Okay, eyes in the sky. Central Command, we're dominating the skies in Iran the day after March 7th. And then Fox hits it, eyes on the sky, exactly. I made a little joke. Hey, Fox, tag me next time. It's my take here. You're stealing. Rambo, I know you and I talked about this one. You know, again, it's the Q team, the White House, Donald Trump, just showing you, if you follow these things, we're always right over the target. They're showing us this formation with the planes on March 5th. You can't tell me it's a coincidence, an exact delta with the formation of the booms. What are those planes going to do? Going to drop the booms, right? Formation, step formation, boom, step formation, March 5th, March 5th. Okay. Exact delta, Trump blasting about Iran. Okay. And the first sentence is beat them to hell. And I didn't include it in the deck, but the next morning, all hell broke loose. That's when the oil fields went on fire. Okay. And he told you right here, we're going to hit the shit out of Iran. And we did. Why were people surprised? It is all about Iran and coordinating with Israel. United States military and Israel went up and lit the oil fields later that day. But the important thing is to show you that we're all part of the plan, always part of the track.
Over the
is
target.
An exact delta to one of the cues that we started with. March 7th, the whole MIGA right there in the queue. All right, and I know you guys saw this. Patriots are in control. March 8th, bang, bang, bang. This one is really important because it's really what we're doing. You are witnessing, and this is right out of that, what I call the sword dance video. That's what's shown time and time again. You are witnessing the systematic destruction of the old guard. Power will return to the people, Q. And that's really what we're doing. That's what we're doing right here with Patriots in control. We're freeing Iran, and that's really what's going on. Okay, but look what happened. This is what I mean. We were going to bookend this sucker. We started with this Q on the right. This is the Q I started this whole damn thing with. This is an exact delta, and look at it. March 8th, Patriots in control. We took control. Iran next. What? So it wrapped all the way back around to where I started way back in 2017. All right, and then this is just to close it out. Absolute storm on February 19th. Look for fire and fury. Operation Epic Fury happens on the 28th. And if you thought that was a reach, oh, look at Donald Trump on the 9th to confirm it. Fire and fury about Iran right there. Boom, boom, boom. Now, I've said that this whole thing probably will end on Easter. So I've been looking for a signal that that track is correct. Not saying that that's definitely going to happen, but I got a pretty good little wink yesterday. So Easter is April 5th. So I've had this Q laid out. Q 1028, April 5th, Delta, 55 Q plus. Donald Trump went up to a mic yesterday wearing purple. His press secretary had pink on. And then the White House posted POTUS 55 plus. So we'll have to see. Does all this end on Easter? We'll see. Think biblical. But that's what I got, guys, man.
Yeah, exactly. Guys, that's crazy stuff. I hope you enjoyed it. Big shout out to Rambo, Dave, Space Shot, Stormy Patriot, Joe, Belushi 117, and Tron. They put on a great show. Check them out. I hope you guys enjoyed today's show. Let me go ahead and release the gold pills. Go back and watch that if you haven't watched it yet. Please do it. We need to start getting back into that stuff. I really, really enjoy it. We're at 3,900. If somebody dropped one ship, we would hit our goal. We will hit our goal with one ship. Thank you, Hoglegs, for the shades. Can you say simulation? Hogleg with the cookie. Great time to be alive. Miss Echo, thank you for the cookie. Zach from Tennessee, Q is either Elon or Dan Scavino. It's true. Hogleg 71 with cookie. Thank you. The cookie, thank you so much. Thank you guys and gals very much. Happy St. Patrick's Day to all of you. Again, you can send support through super chats, through gold pills, anytime. So make sure that you do so. We appreciate you guys watching. Appreciate everybody hanging out. Let me go ahead and release the gold pills right now. A 4,000. We're 1,000 off. I know you guys can do it. Hogleg, thank you for the cookie. Enjoy yourselves. Have a great afternoon. We love you all very much. And we hope you all have a great day. Just know in the end, God wins. Take care. God bless. Peace out, everybody. We love you very much. Bye-bye.